Welcome back, my fellow humans. I'm so honored to be sharing this human experience with you today. This video is specifically for the ones that have had to walk their shadow path in secret out of fear of being misunderstood or rejected. I do things differently here. We aren't looking at what someone else is doing or predicting the future. We're actually looking inward. So remember, triggers may arise. Please don't force them to fit, but maybe view them as a beautiful blueprint for your own healing journey. So today we are looking at what you're terrified they'll see. We're going to be using the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Oracle deck. So we'll go ahead with the shuffle, get the cards out so you can pick your pile. I'll then move into a collective reading and a prayer to get our intention set for the readings ahead. Okay, so what you're terrified they'll see. What animal oracle card will help us better understand this message today, source? What you're terrified they'll see. Okay, thank you. What you're terrified they'll see. Okay, pile one. What you're terrified they'll see. Whoa, your card coming out right away. Thank you. All right. What you're terrified they'll see, pile two. What animal oracle card will help us better understand your message today, pile two? Thank you, source. And what you're terrified they'll see, pile three. What animal oracle card will help us better understand your message? Thank you. All right, we'll check out the collective message in just a moment. So for pile one, we do have this dice with the 7th house on it for you to choose from. We have this beautiful bloodstone. Pile two, we have this dice, this purple dice with the 2nd house on it. Or we have this stone, well, it's a rock, for you to choose from. Pile number three, we have this dice, also with 7th house on it. Or we have this beautiful garnet piece for you to choose from. So we have pile one, pile two, and pile three. And if you're headed on over to the piles, then I will see you there. For those of you sticking with me for the collective reading, we'll move into that now. So we have the snake energy here. Snake. On the bottom of the deck, and if you see, this is Ouroboros, right? So the continual cycles that we go through in our lives, the things that we struggle through, but also the things that we hold victory over as well. Those moments in our lives where we think that we'll never be free of. And maybe we won't, right? Maybe it'll just be something that we always have to contend with in our day-to-day lives, or in our lives in general, at certain aspects or certain crossroads. But what we can truly do is make a choice on how we approach said situation. Everything is truly connected, and you see that here with this grid that's showing here. And through that, we can understand that it's not, I feel like it's hard because with shadow work, we want to be rid of it, right? Like, we want to be rid of these things. But one of the things that your tarot friend, they'll see, is that you've had maybe a toxic pattern that's played out, or like maybe you have toxic family members. It's like, I don't want you to see my toxic family members. I don't want you to know about my toxic background. I don't want you to know about the abuse that I experienced. I don't want you to know about the things that have repeated in my family lineage for a time. These are all things that absolutely terrify you, because it's exposing the secret. It's exposing the part of you that you've kept hidden for so long. But also just the path that we walk upon, we don't want people to recognize that, oh, maybe I made bad decisions along the way, or maybe I have had to overcome something that looks super simple for another person but was absolutely challenging for me. Like, why did I go through so much work or have to go through so much challenge when it came to this circumstance, and seemingly someone else just sidestepped it with so much grace? And those things all terrify us because it shows the core part of who we are. It exposes us. And exposing ourselves to others is what is so frightening, because it means that we're giving them ample fuel and ammunition in order to destroy us. And yet we cannot have true connection without that type of raw vulnerability. And that's why it's so terrifying. And again, we're not here to blame you. We're not here to shake our finger in your face and say, how dare you hide from yourself? We're here to remind you that part of our journey is truly letting go of the fear of being seen and the fear of being heard. And while we all want to be seen and heard, we also fear those things deeply, because in order to be seen and heard truly from our most authentic self, it means to expose the deepest part of ourselves in the deepest recess of our subconscious mind, where we buried that portion of ourselves because we found that it did not belong in the situations where we grew up in. And so now to unleash that portion of ourselves asks us to do something incredibly challenging. It says we need to be okay with that part of ourselves, to accept that part of ourselves, and to allow that part of ourselves to be seen, while also facing that there may be ridicule and there may be judgment with that part of ourselves, but knowing the internal truth, which is that does not matter if it's met with ridicule or if it's met with judgment, because ultimately that's not who we are. That's a projection of something outside of us. And that's also projecting back to us our fear of our internal selves, a part of us that we did not want to accept this internal state. We wanted to run away from this internal state, and in hopes of running away from it, we would never have to accept it, the same way that the people in our lives who we entrusted our hearts with also turned away from it. We become comfortable and complacent along the journey at some point, saying that this is enough, and as long as I feel a shred of comfort in the discomfort, then I will be okay living in the discomfort. But the discomfort is becoming too loud for the spirit to maintain any longer, and it is starting to speak over the ego. Not necessarily in a loud banging type of way like the ego does, but in constant nudges, in constant feelings of ickiness, and realizing that, like, I don't want to continue down this path of self-judgment, self-harm, or self-misunderstanding is the one that's standing out the most here. So the cycles that we go through in our lives show up as a means to expose our truth, not as a means of punishment. Even though they may feel like punishment, they're not. And so we're terrified they'll see the truth of who we are, the part of ourselves that we've hidden from the world, because it means that that part of us has already been hurt and betrayed and judged at some point. What's to say that it won't again? And that's true. What's to say that it won't again? And maybe it will. But the difference is that now you are its caretaker in your fully grown state, and in your emotionally mature state, you recognize that no matter what someone outside of you says, ultimately the only thing that matters is how you believe and see yourself, and whether or not you choose to accept that part of yourself. No one can make you. I can't make you. Source can't make you. Your spiritual team can't make you. Even your spirit cannot make you accept that part of yourself if you do not want to. But it will always be there, nudging, pushing at the door that you've so craftily closed shut, and creatively put some unique string around it. And the string is pulling taut. And because the string is pulling taut, you feel that tension. And that tension is becoming so much more noticeable than it once was. So let's see what Snake has to say from the book. All right. Snake. The guardian of unawakened magic and creative potential. The snake is a symbol of our highest potential. It is said that Shakti, our creative life force, lies dormant at the base of our spine in the form of a coiled snake. Regardless of whether this image rings true for you, it's well worth considering the amount of unawakened or untapped potential within. What would life look like if you woke it up? How could you stir it from slumber? An experienced yogi or meditation teacher can lead the way. Make haste. The snake card appears when there is no more time to waste. When in balance, you're prosperous, creative, and charismatic. When out of balance, you start and stop many things. To bring into balance, check out Kundalini Yoga or meditation. Right, so this is the awakening of self. And that's why it's the awakening. It's because you put it in that room, you put it in that closet, you put it behind that door and let it sleep. Let it lie dormant. Because if it's lying dormant, it cannot cause me trouble. But it's not here to cause you trouble. It's here to free you from the bonds of your past and from the bonds of this incredibly dense world. And sometimes that's easier said than done to accept and to connect with, right? But the power is there nonetheless, and that's why it's asking to be seen. All right, so put that away. Let's move into our prayer. And I would like to just mention very quickly as I'm getting this lit that I missed Saturday's reading. I have had an incredibly challenging and shadow-based week this last week, and that's why I did not get Saturday's reading posted. And so if you are ever wondering, like, what the heck, why isn't Becky posting, where did she go, I always try to be transparent in the community tab, and I'm revising my community tab recently, and so, but I just want to let you know, you'll find the information there. I do post and let you know if I'm not going to post a video. And as of moving forward from here on out, the schedule should be Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, as long as everything works out and is flowing okay in my lives and if not, I will for sure let you know. My beloved source, this prayer is for any and all who come onto this reading, whether it's for a moment's time or for the entire time. Today our ego is loud. It is loud, and it's cutting us off from the spiritual self. Saying, no, 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 you cannot show yourself. Nobody has accepted that part of you before. What makes you think it'll be different now? What makes you think anybody will appreciate this part of yourself that you've locked away? We locked it away to protect ourselves, and that's all that should matter. But that part of ourselves that's been locked away is the truth of who we are. It's our authentic self. We're saying that we're not good enough to be our authentic self when we let the ego win. We're saying that we don't belong as our unique and different selves, the intrinsic part of ourselves that we were born with. And we fear showing that to the world because we fear that people will treat us like the ones in our past have treated us. We fear that they won't appreciate us. And the truth is maybe they won't. But that doesn't matter. We're not here to impress upon others. We're not here to find popularity. We're not here to find validation or the approval of others, because it is that same mindset and mentality that has kept us closed and locked up for so long. Rather, I ask today that you give each one of us the courage to step into the light, knowing that the only person whose opinion matters the most is our own. Do we see and accept ourselves? If we say yes, but we choose not to see and accept ourselves, then help us see the road to truth. Help us face ourselves. Help us face the part of ourself that we're most terrified to unleash. Because that's the part of us that is truly the strongest, the most powerful, and the most aligned, and holds reign over the kind of experience that we can live in this life that we're in now. Walking away does nothing for us. It only keeps us further from our truth. So may we open up to our truth. May we open up to our strength. And may we open up to our unique, vulnerable, raw, authentic selves. We're going to get it out there. Thank you so very much, my beloved source. And as this prayer is spoken today upon this tribe and onto this reading, so shall it be. Amen. Aho, Ase. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, let me set that up over there. All right, perfect. So with that being said, whichever pile you chose, whether it was 1, 2, or 3, I will see you over there next. Welcome back, my fellow humans. I am so honored to be sharing this human experience with you today. This video is specifically for the ones that have had to walk their shadow path in secret out of fear of being misunderstood or rejected. I do things differently here. We aren't looking at what someone else is doing or predicting the future in this reading today. We are looking inward. So please remember that triggers may arise. Do not force them to fit, and maybe view them as a beautiful blueprint for your own healing journey. So for pile 1, if you chose or were drawn to pile 1 via this blue dice with the 7th house on it, or possibly felt called to this beautiful bloodstone, or maybe during the shuffle you felt called to this card here, this is going to be your reading and what you're terrified they'll see. So for you, pile 1, before we get into it, I am going to do the dice first. We're going to read tarot next, and then we will get into the oracle cards last as advice and information you need moving forward. But for pile 1, there was something that was coming through for you, which is a deep fear of looking needy or incapable. So for you, it's the armor of absolute self-reliance, right? There's this exhaustion that's coming out between being the strong one or also being the low maintenance one, or mixing those two together. Like, I have to be strong, but I also cannot ask for help. So you're terrified of dropping your guard, showing fatigue, and asking for help for fear of being judged or seen as a burden and a failure. And there's something here that's hiding a deeply fatigued inner child who wants to be taken care of. You want to feel safe, but yet you keep building up walls of hyper independence to prevent being let down or to be backed into a corner, because that's like the worst feeling ever. It's like betrayal is one of the worst feelings ever, but also feeling like you have no options is one of the worst feelings ever. And so we're going to look deeper into this today and kind of understand this a little bit better for you. But that was something that was coming through for you, pile 1. the armor of absolute self-reliance. Okay, so what you're terrified they'll see? For pile 1 source, what do they need to know? What they're terrified they'll see. Oh, it's weird that the dice came out like that. So we've got the 4th house, we've got Cancer, and we've got Neptune. So this is an interesting energy already, because it feels like this is something that's like inherent with your family, right? With the 4th house and Cancer coming out together. Also with Neptune, it's something that's not seen, or it's something that lies underneath the surface. And this feels like coming up in ideas of potentially growing up in a home where your parents never sat still, or like your caregivers never sat still, or you were always surrounded by adults that if they weren't doing so, why do I hear that? Idle hands keep the devil. Like, that's something that's coming in here. So it's like, if they were idle, they were like blaming themselves, or like if you had space and time to maybe take a nap as a child, they were like shaking you awake and being like, there's stuff to do, but everything that needed to be done was always just busy work, right? So say it's a Sunday afternoon, the house is completely clean, all the chores are done, dinner's made, there's really nothing left to do but to sit down and just enjoy the rest of your day. Maybe go and play outside. But instead of letting you sit down and enjoy, they were making up chores for you to do, or they were making up things that you needed to do, or potentially even on the other side, you grew up in an incredibly messy house, like hoarders type house, right? And everybody just was like, well, there's so much stuff to do, but nothing was ever getting finished, but everybody was always busy. But it's because there's this mentality of, well, we need to clean a room, but then taking the ultimate amount of time to clean just one shelf, right? So I'm going to spend 12 hours cleaning one shelf today, so nothing gets done and I don't actually have to move, right? So there's like 2 massive extremes coming in here, and it could be a mixture of both, but those are 2 massive extremes that feel like are coming through, where it's like, how can the house be this disastrous but no one is home? And also, you guys might hear my AC turn on in the background. It's quite toasty today, but not so toasty as it has been. And then for others of you, it's like you had a house of clean freaks, and so maybe they were even making you dust on top of the doors, right? So eventually what happened along the way is that as a child, you decided that you had to independently be busy. So you made up chores for yourself, or you made up things to do for yourself to be busy. And it doesn't have to be chores, it could be anything. But it's like you had to become independent, because if you were independent, then you were a burden to the family. Like if you were taking a nap, or for, God forbid you got sick or something like that, it was punishable and seen as like, oh, you're just acting that way because you want to be lazy today. Or you're just saying you're tired because you want to be lazy. Or you grew up hearing like you were tired because you're a growing kid, right? Growing kids get tired too. But maybe you had a parent who's like, you don't even know what the definition of tired is. You don't know what that means. You don't know what that feels like. So don't come to me and tell me that you're tired. You're a child. You should have all the energy in the world. Like, okay. It's a wild and random way to approach things, but that's something that's coming out here. So there's a lot of passive aggressive energy in the environment that you had growing up, and that turned into passive aggressive self-talk. And so that was always like, if I don't have to rely on anybody for help, or if I don't have to go and ask for anything, like if I can just constantly be figuring out my own problems, if I can constantly, and that's another thing that's coming through too, is that maybe every time you needed help, like with homework, right? Like that was one of your busy chores or something, you needed help with homework. They're like, made it like, well, you should know, you should have been paying attention in class. Like they put it back on you for some reason, right? Like your room needed to be cleaned, and instead of getting help with your room, like they put it back on you. Like, you're 6 years old, you should be doing your laundry, you should be doing the dishes, you should be cleaning your room. Like, I shouldn't have to help you with this. There's like a definite block here where it's like you couldn't be a kid You had to grow up super early because of this passive aggressive behavior, and it subconsciously has been running wild in your system. So sitting down, I just feel like you're always busy. I feel like you're always doing something, and there's no time for creativity because there's so many other things that have to be done. Like creative, what the heck? How can I be creative when I have so much other things I have to focus on? But it's just because that mindset is definitely taking over here. And there's this feeling of like, it's easy to take on everybody else's burdens because maybe you did that for your parents, right? Maybe your parents didn't help clean, and so, but they were passively aggressive attacking you, and so you took on the burden of cleaning, right? Emotions coming through as well. Like you couldn't share your emotions with your family because it was always a problem. So that, but they had to emotionally dump on you all the time, and you had to regulate those emotions. And it was like always you being put on the back burner, or you could have been potentially raised in a family of narcissists and you were the scapegoat. And so you were expected to carry everybody's emotional trauma, but you couldn't have any of your own, and not realizing the burden that has played on your life. It was easier to be hyper independent, get good grades, to make sure that you created a setup, an environment where maybe you didn't get praised, but if you weren't getting praised, it was this environment that you created that at least you weren't getting bullied for. Or if you were getting bullied, it was less than if you had to ask for help and assistance. What are you terrified they'll see? Yeah, oof. Okay, what you're terrified they'll see, pile 1. Yeah, you've definitely outgrown this. This is not something that's meant to be in your energy for much longer. It is leaving for sure. You're like, just the thought of asking for help, like it's odd. I got an immediate headache just thinking about it. But I also feel like sick to my stomach. Like I couldn't even say the words, I need help. Like I feel like that's sticking in your throat because there's some wound that's attached to that where if I ask for help, it's going to be immediate. Like I'm going to get yelled at. There's going to be some type of lashback that comes with that. And it's going to be super uncomfortable. Wow. A lot of swords energy here. A lot of mind games that your internal self has been playing on you, right? So like your emotional ego has been playing a lot of mind games on you because it's learned that from your growing up environment. Especially from the ages of 2 to 9, you had a lot that was going on internally that you didn't have autonomy. You had to be at the beck and call of everybody else. Oh my goodness, that was so uncomfortable. Sorry, I was moving something from under the table that fell up against my leg. So yeah, you were at the beck and call of everybody else, and it was something that was incredibly difficult. You did not know that those were red flags because you're in a dependent situation. You're dependent on the people who are around you to survive. And so you chose to fit what they said you had to become in order to belong, in order to be a part of that. Yeah. And they were very, very, oh, these people, okay. It's just very interesting because with the Six of Wands in the reverse, it's showing like they were oppressing you. They were very greedy with your energy. They were very greedy with your time. Like they needed your attention on them 24/7. Like when you weren't there, they wanted you to be there. A lot of trains today. There's always a lot of trains, but sometimes they go by even more often than normal. So a lot of trains today. But there's something about like when you weren't there, they were always looking for you, or they wanted you to be there, or they wanted a way to bother you so that you could carry whatever uncomfortable thing that they were going through. And you're slowly outgrowing this here with the 2 swords energy at the center of your reading. You're on the path to a positive outcome. Things are going to be working out for you soon. You're going to be getting over this. But the main thing here, the main issue has been not being able to save yourself. And when we say saving yourself, we're not saying in the sense of pushing everybody out and being hyper independent. We're saying when you save yourself and you allow yourself to be vulnerable. And that's scary. because it's actually meaning like I gotta go to people that I trust to ask for help. I gotta go to people that I know have space and time to do these things for me, but I don't want to be a burden to them. Saving yourself is recognizing that you needing help is not a problem. It's a part of being in a societal community. Like, we need to be able to rely on people just as much as you want people to rely on you. You need, and your soul desires to have people to also rely on. And I already heard somebody, but they're just going to betray me. They're going to hurt me. They're not going to help me. They're going to say something about it. They're going to bring it up later. That's maybe true. Absolutely, pile one. It may absolutely be true. But the unique thing about that is that if that is to come to pass, that is valuable data for you to assess whether or not these are people who are meant to travel the higher enlightenment journey with you, or if these are people that it's okay to maybe vibrate out of their lives, or let them vibrate out of your lives. If they're not going to come to help you because they care about you, or if they only help for their own reasons, their own agenda, those are not your real friends. That's not people who are meant to be there with you in the long run. Yeah, so with the Five of Cups underneath the Knight of Swords in the reverse, we're looking at, then it's time to network. It's time to expand your horizons. It's okay to cast a bigger net. And this is something you can practice with all the people that you come across, right? Like, just putting yourself out there. And that sounds so scary, but the more you do it, it's like, what is it called? Exposure therapy, right? The more you ask for help from people, the easier it is to ask for help when you truly need it. You could just say in the store, like if you're not tall enough to reach the top shelf, but you see someone in the aisle that is, you could say, would you please get that item for me? I'm just not tall enough to get it, and there's no ladder or step stool here. Would you please get that for me? It's a stranger, right? I'm sure most of the time they'll probably be like, yeah, sure. And if they don't help you, or if they ignore you, no beef on your back. You can just go and find somebody who can help, right? Like, but that's the thing. It's like you're putting yourself out there. It is uncomfortable. It is unusual. It is different. But it helps you to expose yourself to that so that you're no longer saying like, oh, well, I have to monkey climb up these shelves and hope to not die to get this item from the top shelf. You know what I mean? Like you're entrusting someone to step forward in a humane way, because most people are genuine, and most people are compassionate. And I already heard someone say, no, they're not. I've never experienced that. I heard it so loud right now. I get that. But remember that the circle of people that you've been around is far less than a 0.01%, even a 0.001% of the people that exist on this planet. So when we break down the numbers like that, even though that can be our entire world, that is just smaller than a fraction of the reality of the world out there. So yes, maybe you've been exposed to people like that, but remembering that our internal state is going to vibrate people to us that mirror our internal state back to us so that we can heal those parts of ourselves. And if you're like, well, I'm not a narcissist, or I'm not this, or I'm not that, like I'm an empath, and why the heck do I keep attracting narcissistic, abusive people? It's not because you are. It's because at some point you have chosen to put other people first and to ignore yourself. And so a lot of those situations get mirrored back to you are people who expect you to put them first while ignoring yourself, so that you can choose to flip the script and say, no, I deserve to put myself first. You deserve to come first too. So let's see here. Let me get my other deck. What happens when pile one starts to ask for help? Yeah, love comes. You'll like, and not just romantic love. Absolutely, this for someone is romantic love. Romantic love will come. But this is also showing like love. People who are meant to be around you will come, and a lot more balanced emotional situations will come into your life. You know, what's that that song. I think it's a Panic at the Disco song. It's like, if you don't know who to trust, then trust me, you'll be lonely. There's a line from the song that says that. It's like, I think that's from Hey Ma. Hey, look, Ma, I made it. Right? Trust me, if you don't know who to trust, then trust me, you'll be lonely. Like, that's the thing. If you don't know who to trust, then you'll always be lonely, and you'll always be hyper vigilant. You'll always expect to have to take on the world's troubles. It's time to put down the burden of the world and pick up yourself. Pick up yourself and put yourself first. That's not disgraceful. You're not a burden. You're a person just like those people who expected you to carry them and to have nothing to do with yourself, and to show you disdain or to show you absolute disgust for the fact that you had needs. You having needs is not weird. It's not unusual. It matters, and you matter. And if you don't see that about yourself, then no one will be able to see that. So what happens when you decide to ask for help and to stop carrying everybody else's burdens, i.e. emotional responsibilities? You may have been raised with covert narcissists. They're very good at this. And I always talk about how narcissists are doing things from a subconscious state. You know, and I know a lot of people are like, well, they're aware that they're doing it. And sometimes they are, but sometimes they're not. Like, sometimes literally they're so driven by it in a subconscious manner that that's their whole life, right? Because it's just, they chose that when they were younger. They become influenced by those actions now. And so they're so used to garnering empathy from someone for their victim mindsets, for their life, like their hurt, what they've experienced. It's all about them, and they want everybody to feel sorry for them, and they want everybody to come to their rescue and to give them energy. And these are things that can be really, really challenging and difficult, because it's like, well, but they know that they're doing it. It is calculated, but it's calculated from a subconscious standpoint. It's a defense mechanism that arose when they were a child. The same as your defense mechanism is to carry the burden of the world. That's your defense mechanism, and you're terrified that they'll see that. You're terrified to see that you being strong is actually just a false mask. But the lack of you carrying the burden of somebody else's world does not make you weak. And that's the thing that's coming through here. So if you dealt with people who expected you to carry them emotionally, like if you had a parent who had a bad day at work and they came home and they word vomited all the bad things that their coworkers did and their boss did, and you were like 7 years old listening to, and you were expected to listen to it, and then they were like, well, what do you think I should do? At 7 years old, the adult's asking you what they should do. Like, a 7-year-old's gonna know. But somehow you evolved and you adapted to that, and you became the one with the wisdom. So remembering, you still hold all of that wisdom, pile one. You still hold all of that knowledge. The difference now is that you don't hold that knowledge for people who do not appreciate you. You hold that knowledge for the people who see and appreciate who you are. You're more than willing to help, and it's okay to help. But it's not okay for you to create situations where you're carrying everybody else's burdens because you want to be seen as strong and hyper independent, that you don't need anybody. We all need somebody. Even the most hyper vigilant of us all, we still need somebody, because it's an incredibly lonely place without somebody. What happens when pile one starts to ask for help? What happens when pile one starts to ask for help? Yeah, new opportunities. Also just a groundedness here. It's going to be uncertain though. You've been driven by the past for so much. Like, the uncertainty here is there potential for abundance moving forward? Is there potential for abundance in relationships even? Like friendships, soul tribe, family, whatever. Is there potential for that? There's this uncertainty that's there. Even though there's an assured feeling of wanting to move forward into the future in that energy, it's still frightening because the past has played such a overwhelming part in your day-to-day. The bottom of the deck, the 10 of Wands in the reverse. See, it's again, when the 10 of Wands in the reverse comes out, because usually in the upright, it's talking about having a friend that you go through thick and thin with. You're like this, right? They're a true ride or die on your journey. And when it's in the reverse, it's talking about carrying burdens that are not yours to carry. You've picked up the world, right? And that's the question that we're asking. What happens when you ask for help? What happens when you put down the burden, right? You have to see the burden as a burden, not as this is my way of being strong. Because you're identifying your strength with the ability to solve other people's problems. If you haven't been on my channel for any amount of time, I'm going to share a story with you. This is where balance comes from. This was under the 10 of Wands, back to the 2 of Swords. Yeah, this is where your balance comes from. Okay, this is how you begin to grow out of this energy. My mom, she helped everybody. She knew how to solve everybody's problems. My mom got sick. My mom got incredibly sick. She passed away from the sickness. And she had helped thousands of people. She knew what was going on with people's lives. She knew their families. She knew the names of their family. Like, she knew the kids that were in school, what they were doing with their lives. Like, my mom knew details through and through for people. And it always just, I was amazed by it. It was just such an incredible feat that she had accomplished. But I remember seeing her in the hospital room, and after a week of being there, she asked me, she said, where are they? Where are they, Becky? Where are all the people that I helped? Where are all the people that I gave love to? Where are they? And out of all those people that she helped, only 2 showed up. Only 2 out of those people showed up. Because my mom carried everybody's burden. But the truth is that when she needed help, they couldn't be there. They could not draw themselves away from the need. And then one of the people that showed up, my mom was no longer in a state, because she had brain cancer, so she had brain surgery. She was no longer in a state where she could give that kind of support to people any longer. But I'll never forget that when she finally got released the first time to go back home, and we were sitting at the table, one of the ladies that she had helped came, and I was sitting at the table with her, and Mom asked if I could leave them alone so that they could be together. And I was like, yeah, but something really was off for me. And so I left her alone, but I was just outside in they were at the kitchen table, and I was in the family room, which was just outside of the dining room. And so I stayed there so that I could listen. And you might be like, well, but you were eavesdropping. And I was like, understanding that my mom was super sick. Okay, like, my main concern was her health. I was like, I didn't want to listen in on their conversation, but something was off about the situation to me. And so I sat out there, and all of a sudden, this lady, she started pouring onto my mom all of her problems, and Mom just kind of froze. Like, she didn't know what to do anymore. Like, all those, she had aphasia from the brain surgery, from the tumor that pushed up against a certain part of her brain, and she couldn't get her words out the way that she used to, and she was really struggling just to make sense to the world around her. And so she was trying to give advice, and I finally stood up and I told her friend, and I said, I understand that you're here because you love the advice that Mom gives to you. And I was like, but she's no longer in a position where she can do that. I said, if that's the only reason that you're showing up, then please know that you're not welcome back. And my mom got upset with me, but I told her after the lady had left, I said, look, Mom, I know that you're mad, but the only thing that matters right now is you. And my mom could not put down the burden of the world enough to recognize that in that moment, she's the one that needed the assistance. She's the one that needed the help. And it was so big, that burden, that even when we were like, because she needed help bathing, she needed help cutting her hair, she needed help cutting her nails, she needed help just doing generic everyday things. She could not let go of control because she had been in that state of hyper independence and hyper vigilance to everybody else's needs and wants and problems, that she still in her last days was struggling to receive love and to receive support from the people who were there for her. And so that's why, you know, it's admirable to take on everybody else's problems and pains, pile one, and it's okay. That was the thing, like, my mom was terrified of people seeing her at her weakest, when she was unable to give them that. But still, at her weakest, she still fulfilled that role. She still was trying to step into that caretaker role, when she had no business being in that role any longer, because it was cut out of her. It was wiped out in a day. And so it can be really a huge struggle. But the thing is that you're going to spend all your life being this hyper vigilant person. And when the time comes for you to need someone, you have to understand that all those people you helped, the likelihood of them showing up is slim to none. And the reason being is because they're all there because you're benefiting them, not because they're giving something back to you. What they're giving back to you is a sense of purpose and a fulfilled idea that I'm actually helping them. But are you helping them by taking their burdens and healing it for them? That actually puts you into a place of being an enabler. And being the enabler comes out the most when you're at your weakest point, usually having to do with your health, and those people do not return the favor when you need them the most. And that's heartbreaking. And still to this day, it breaks my heart that I had to tell my mother in the hospital room that the people who want to be here will be. And she kept telling me, I don't understand. I don't understand, Becky. I helped all these people. I don't understand. I gave them everything that I had. I don't understand. For 2 hours, I had to talk to her about this. And I grabbed her hand and I said, none of those people matter. And they don't, pile one. None of those people will matter. Because if those people don't love you the way that you deserve to be loved, that's a discrepancy, and that's a discrepancy of the journey. And you deserve to have people in your life who love you because they see you and they appreciate you, not because you're giving them anything, but because you show up as you are, raw, open, and vulnerable. And that's the mask that's asking to be put down right now, because it's the mask that you're ready to face. And it's terrifying to watch a person go through that when they've helped the world and the world turns it back. When the world turns its back on you, when you're at your lowest, kicking you when you're down, there's nothing that compares to that. When you've given your all to people who you thought cared about you. But the defense mechanism is pretending that they care because it gives you a sense of worth. Your worth is based on helping them and their problems. And that's not fair to you, pile one. It's not fair at all. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. Let's see what your last card is here. What happens when you ask for help? Abundance re-enters your life. You're giving your abundance away to these people that don't care about you, that don't want to see you, that don't want to appreciate what you have to offer. They just see someone who helps ease their discomfort in life, not someone who has value. But when you let go and you see that yourself, then you're able to open up to the people who see the value of you. Not what you have to offer, but who you are in this moment. Showing up and have a conversation with you right now and recognize this is somebody who matters. Not because you gave them something, but because you exist. And that's scary. I feel like the thing is that you're terrified they'll see that if you don't have something to give, then that means that you must be nothing and no one. And that's not true at all. The breath in your lungs makes you a someone. This moment in time, you matter and you are enough. No one deserves to go through that, and no one deserves to have to experience that type of loneliness in life. But sometimes we get in our own way without realizing it because we think this gives us value. And what you have, and I don't want to devalue what you have, pile one, because you have a ton of knowledge and wisdom at your fingertips. But the people you've been sharing it with for so long, they just don't appreciate what you have to offer. You're throwing pearls before swine, and they're gobbling it up. They love it. They love it. Oh, it's fulfilling. It's great. It keeps me from having to face my own triggers, my own sense of lack of self-worth, my own sense of self-hatred. It keeps me from having to feel all that because I just dump it onto pile one and they take care of it for me. They feed my ego. They tell me I'm great. They tell me that, you know, I'm doing a great job. They tell me all these things that makes me feel good. And then I go off happy as a clam, and they're left with all that emotional weight. I don't ask them how they're doing. I don't ask them what they're experiencing in their day-to-day. Like, what's something that I can work through with you too? Like, let's have a back and forth here. Thinking about your conversations, how many of them are one-sided? How many of these people actually call and ask you, how's your day? Or do they call and ask, hey, pile one, how are you? And you say, oh, I'm really good. And then as soon as you take a breath to continue, they're like, oh, that's great. I'm so glad that you're good. But do you know what just happened to me? Like, they cut in really fast. How often does that happen? There's your sign. Virgo energy, integrity, reverence, and service. This is you being of service. You're meant to serve people. Like, that's a part of you that's intrinsic to you, pile one. And it's a beautiful thing. But you're meant to serve people who are ready to receive the messages you have. You're not meant to serve people by alleviating them from the responsibility of their own journey. Sagittarius, optimism, exploration, and freedom. It should be an adventure for you, not a burden. I feel like your abilities, your gifts, have the capacity to take you to places you didn't know existed. But right now, you're stuck on a Ferris wheel. Or on, what are those tilt-a-whirls? Or the merry-go-round. That's what it was. The merry-go-round. And you can't even step off because all these people keep pushing and they keep pushing and it keeps gaining speed and you can't get off because it's going to hurt. And maybe it will hurt to get off. Maybe it will hurt. But I tell you what, the minute you get off, you'll be able to stand up, brush yourself off, and try something different. You don't have to step back on the merry-go-round. And if it's a fear of abandonment here, remember that those people, they're abandoning you because they're abandoning themselves. And that's very clear in the way that they expect you to hold their problems and for them to not face it themselves. Right? Yeah, key to intimacy. Intimate love is a core need to be met in relation to ourselves and those closest to us. The journey to intimacy often includes learning what love is not. And that's a really powerful card to come out for you right now, pile one, because it's showing like you're learning that what you've done, while you are coming from a place of love, everybody involved is not. Love is not a one-way street. Love is a two-way street. So we've got the moon energy coming out. Take note of intuitive messages. And I feel like you've been getting more and more messages about this recently, even just in your own day-to-day life. Like you've been feeling something about this. Like this is just not who I am, or this is not what I want to be. But it's almost so much of a automated response system that it's like becoming aware of the response when it's there and not beating yourself up for it when it happens, right? In which, be the light. Yeah. So you are a light worker, okay? Like you're here to give the light. You're here to give the love. You're here to share some very spiritual wisdom with others. And you won't be able to share that with the people who are meant to hear it if you're constantly surrounding yourself with the people from the past who don't recognize the power of your words. Yeah, your guardian angel, you're not alone. And that, isn't that interesting? We're talking about that. If you don't know who to trust, then trust me, you'll be lonely. And we have the guardian angel saying you're not alone. We can be lonely, but not be alone, right? Like we are surrounded by our guides and our help and our guardian angels and our spirit guides and ancestors. Like they're all here helping us, but we have to trust that process as well. All right, let's see what else comes out for you. Oh, yeah, don't let pride get in your way with the full moon in Leo. And that's the emotional ego saying like, no, I've helped these people for so long. Like, what will they do without me? They'll figure it out. It seems like incredibly unloving to say something like that. Like, how could you be like that? Like, that's not love at all. You know what? Like, my parents, I grew up listening to my parents talk about how companies, well, if I didn't work for this company, then they're going to go under and this, that, and the other. And then they would leave the company and the company would be just fine. You know why? Because they figure it out. Yeah, maybe you are an asset to their life. Absolutely. You're an asset to their life, right? But at the end of the day, they figured it out before you were there. They'll figure it out after you're gone. And they're going to continue down the path of trying to shirk their responsibilities of healing. But that's not yours to carry. But the ego says, no, 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 I'm the only person that can help them with this. I'm the only person that knows this. I'm the only person that can trigger them into healing. I'm the only person that can carry this burden. You're not. And that feels weird too, because it's like, oh, so you're saying that I'm just like everybody. No, that's not at all. But it's weird to feel that way, that you're not the only one that can do this. Because the truth is that you're not the one that's supposed to do this. But that tells the ego that says, oh, now I'm not special. This made me feel special. This made me feel like I mattered. I was taking validation from their healing, from taking care of their boundaries, taking care of their responsibilities, doing everything for them gave me purpose. That made me matter. Now you're taking away the only thing that makes me matter. No, we're taking away the one thing that's keeping a mask up, that's hiding that you already have always mattered. Hold your vision, fixed moon. Yeah, so there's something stubborn here that's coming through as well with the fixed moon energy. Something very stubborn, and it's like you want to help people. I feel like helping people is something you're destined to do, but you're seeing what you're doing right now as that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been helping these people. Like, why can't I help this person? And that's why I brought up covert narcissists. Like, let me tell you, they're hard. I have dealt with both for my entire life, and it's just not there. I personally don't share those stories yet. I'm not ready to, but I can share experiences that I've gone through. One of the hardest things was dealing with facing the grandiose narcissist in my life. But once I understood what that was, because of my ex was a grandiose narcissist. But when I recognized the mirror that he held up to me about my family dynamics in life, that was hard, because it was actually looking at the person who I considered a best friend in my life. It was looking at them and realizing, like, oh, they're not at all who I thought they were. And that letting go process has taken so much time, because the internal child is ever hopeful that they'll change, right? And that's what the emotional ego grasps onto, is the eternal child's hope. And it's like, oh no, so you're saying basically like they're not capable of change. Or what your ego is really holding on to is the fact is that you're saying that I'm not capable or strong enough to make them change, which gets altered by the internal child saying, oh, but they're capable of change, and we'll just figure out something along the way to help them change, right? So these two things get misconstrued to us, to our conscious mind, and we're thinking to ourselves like, yeah, I'm just helping them, when really the ego is holding on to, this is me, I'm the strongest person alive that's going to make them change by the good old 1-2. And there's no way for that. There's just no way. We can't force somebody to change. They have to choose that path on their own. And if they're not choosing it, nothing you say, do, act upon, or whatever idea or action you can come up with, it's never going to be enough to elicit change or inspiration in this person. It's just not. They have to use the seeds that have already been planted and water them at some point. That's what elicits inspiration within each of us, is that seed was already planted in our soul. Something watered it that made sense to us, and that's what elicited our change. You've already planted plenty of seeds within this person's soul. Let source figure out how to water them. Don't you be the waterer too. That's not your job. Go all in, baby. Yeah, it's time for you to focus on your healing and to re-empower yourself. Like, that's something really you're supposed to do here. All right, let's get one of these. Very powerful reading here. No, that's not the one. Hi, whoa, okay. Look, I cannot make this up. You got the weight of the world. Boundaries, let it go. It's not yours to carry. Like, I cannot make up this. This is such a heavy energy. Like, I feel very crushed by this energy. I can't even imagine how you feel, right? She's like, but I'm going to save them. I'm going to make them see the truth. Look, if you haven't up until now, there's nothing you can do. You've already tried every angle. And now you've already retried every angle, maybe 100 times. You're not going to elicit that change in them. And we have to be okay with that sometimes, right? And then we have whale and orca elders. Share your song, frequency of sound, and deep diving. And this is also just talking about the family, the generational curses that have happened in our lives, the things that have been passed down to us. So it's time for you to let go of those family curses by choosing your own path. Put down the responsibility of healing the people who came before you, of healing the family, whoever they are, and start to live your own life. Sing your own song. Choose your own journey. What? What just happened? Pile 1. Water your garden. Nourishment, body care, tenderness, and rest. What did Source say? Yeah, don't water theirs. Water your garden. Let me be completely 100% clear. It's not your job to water them. It's your job to water yourself. Taking care of yourself. Put down the burden and take care of yourself, because that's the only thing that matters right now. Let's get an answer oracle for you, pile 3. Whoa, okay, or 3, or 4, or 5. Bottom of the deck. Limit. It's time for you to set some solid boundaries with this person. When you set solid boundaries, then you're going to start speeding into a new chapter of your life. There's going to be a huge shift once you start setting boundaries with whoever this person is or these people. It feels like multiple people here, multiple circumstances where you're doing this. Okay, we have redemption, hope, miracle, and a turning point. Exactly. This is your redemption. This is the hope in your life. Okay, these are where things start to turn for you. Perspective. A calm and clear mind is free to see differently. We're asking you to change your perspective when it comes to this situation. Okay, the thing is here is that you're afraid that putting down the burden means that you're weak, and that's not true at all. In fact, you know, I was having this conversation the other day that I was so honored, because my mom, she carried those types of burdens her whole life. And I had mentioned that I wished that I had gotten to know my mom in her healed state. Like, what would that have looked like if she was in her healed and aligned state? Because in my eyes, she was such a powerful woman. My grandmother too. Like, even my grandmother was still even though that whole situation happened between my mom and my grandma, like, both of them were incredible women in the world. And, you know, the thing is that we had our discrepancies, we had our differences, but I'll still always be impacted by the things that they've done and the moments that they've accomplished, even carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders and carrying these hardships, especially in a world of men. And nothing against men, it's just that both of them grew up in a time when women still didn't have their own voices. You know, we're just now stepping into where women are accepted, more accepted, not necessarily fully accepted, but still being more accepted than what they were. I mean, I think about that to myself. Like, my mom carried the whole weight of the world, and I wonder who would she have been if she had put down that and just decided to love herself instead. Like, how much brighter would she have shined? And that always breaks my heart to think about that I never got to share this journey with her to help her heal. That now she's in the spirit realm, but I'm healing her by healing myself. And, you know, that's something that's always going to be valuable to me. But it's just frustrating to see, like, how much she gave to people her whole life, and how at the end there was so little people who showed up. Even at her funeral, there just wasn't that many people there, and there was such a lot of weird things that happened when I came to her funeral. And there were people who were there just to get attention on Facebook, and it was such a wild situation. I just felt so much disrespect for her and for who she was as a person during her funeral. And I was just like, you know, people don't understand how much she gave. The person that I saw, the person that I loved, the person that I recognized was her from her heart. And I never got to see that full expression, but everyone else just saw what she gave and what she benefited them for. And that's what really just hurt me, because it's like, this woman carried the weight of the world and none of you recognize that. And I feel like that's the main thing here, is that what Source is saying is, like, you don't want to put down the weight of the world, because it's become your shield. It's become your shield for seeing that you are vulnerable, and that there are times when you can't continue on, and there are times when you do break down and cry, and there are times when you do have to hide from the world. But still, if somebody calls, you're going to drop everything and put that shield on and still present a good face moving forward. How exhausting. How exhausting to feel like you don't matter to feel like you don't have a right to ask for what you need. That's so exhausting, and it's not fair. You're a person just like I am. You're a person just like my mom was. You're a person just like the people you're helping. You are also going to experience times where you need to be lifted up. And if you don't have people who lift you up, then you know you're not surrounded by the right people. Solar eclipse, watch for doors of opportunity swing open. And that's the other thing is Source is saying, like when you finally let go of helping these people, all that luck and blessings that you're giving them by being you is going to come back to you tenfold here. We have yield. Yeah. Force, concede, surrender, and accept. Yield to this need, to this almost obsession, it feels like, of wanting to help people. I get it. It feels good to be of service in that way. But right now what you're doing isn't a service to people. It's a mask to hide healing yourself, because there's something that's crying out inside that needs to be faced. And it's easy to solve everybody else's problems, but it's hard to look in the mirror. Evolution, transformation, reinvent, and new beginnings. We're trying to bring you into your period of evolution. You go, you yield, and you evolve. That's where your redemption happens. So powerful, powerful message. Let's take a look at your card. I'm going to read this from the book. Oh, wow. You got dragon. Look at, and this is the image on the front of the book. Okay, powerful energy already. Mystical and mythical. All right, dragon, where are you at? Right here. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Okay. I cannot make this up, right? So dragon says, seeing one's most true self and balancing the ego. The dragon sees everything. Its essence has been with us since before our first breath and will be there at our last. It watches us navigate the external world as well as our inner world. When dragon energy is awakened, we are courageous, visionary, and we can easily drop into witness consciousness. It is almost as if we are traveling with a great friend inside of ourselves. When we look in the mirror, deep into our eyes, we may even glimpse the self behind the self, the one who is watching us. This is the power of the dragon, breathing transformative fire into every cell of our bodies. Witnessing this omnipotent energy, even for a brief moment, helps us to surrender the yield energy here and let go. We let the dragon guide us. We hop on its back for a ride and we traverse even the most difficult terrain. The dragon's eyes see beauty everywhere. It is said that if a yogi does not see beauty in the world, their Agni is dim. Agni is described as inner fire or sacred intelligence. Maybe even just the mention of the dragon stirs the embers of intelligence within you. The dragon and the third chakra, so the solar plexus. The subtle energy of the dragon lives at the navel center at the Manipura chakra. Manipura translates to the city of the hidden gems. Behind its gates burns the fire of our transformation and digestion. The sage believe health of the fire at the navel center is what governs our ability to clearly see both the inner and outer dimensions. So you're really good at seeing the inner and outer dimensions with everyone else, but now it's about coming back and giving that gift to yourself. And what kind of transformation does that bring into your life? That's the beauty of it. There's some sort of blessing here that's waiting just at the doorway that you're going to pass through when you stop doing this for everybody who doesn't see your value and your worth. And when you give that to yourself, you begin to understand you matter, you are enough, and you are valuable in this moment. Okay? Here's a big hug, pile one. You're not alone. All right? I love you so much. I'm so honored I got to do this for you today. So let's take a moment to breathe in today's affirmation. And if you'd like to claim this, leave the little seeing eye emoji down below and say, today I trust that giving my own gift to myself opens the door and the path to my success, to my higher self, and to my true authenticity. Awesome. So with that, if this reading spoke to your soul, please like and subscribe, and you are more than welcome to share your story down below. I read them all, and if you feel called to, I will read yours as well. It's not an obligation though. And with that, I would like to take a moment to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, and my spirit guides. And if you'd like to explore the tools that we use today in today's readings, or would like to go on further to support the channel, you'll find everything you need in the description box below. So with that being said, pile number 1, until next time, stay human. Bye. Welcome back, my fellow humans. I'm so honored to be here sharing this human experience with you today. This video is specifically for the ones that have had to walk their shadow path in secret out of fear of being misunderstood or rejected. Okay, I do things differently here, and we aren't looking into what someone else is doing or predicting the future in these readings. We're looking inward. So please remember that triggers may arise. Do not force them to fit, but maybe view them as a beautiful blueprint for your own healing journey. So this is for pile 2. If you were drawn to the purple dice with the second house on it, or perhaps you felt called to this rock, or maybe you were drawn to this card during the shuffle, then this is going to be your reading on what you're terrified they'll see. Now, for you, pile 2, I was getting a hidden anger of people pleasing. Like, you've done a lot of people pleasing in your life. There's a lot of anger that's coming through in regards to that. But there's the secret resentment and quiet rage that has not been attended to. There's this intense fiery resentment from dynamics where your boundaries have been crossed and where your generosity has been exploited, and you're terrified that others will see your anger and label you as difficult, crazy, or ungrateful, or wild, or weird, or anything along those lines. And there's a deeper truth here where there's an you've internalized a rule that to be good, you have to suppress your own natural boundaries, hiding a powerful, fierce boundary that is ready to scream no more. It's masked behind a pleasant smile, and that is in order to keep the peace, right? So there's a lot of peacemaking here, people pleasing, and a fear of being seen as difficult for having a normal, natural experience to anger. It's a very human experience, but there's this fear that you, for some reason, are not allowed to experience anger. And I do feel like that may come from a family dynamic where whenever you were angry, it was seen as you acting up, it was seen as you talking back, and it was immediately, they put a kibosh on it. Like, you're not allowed to be angry. However, you were watching as adults were allowed to be angry, they were allowed to scream, and they were allowed to do whatever they wanted to. And in order for you to feel like you fit in and be accepted, it was just easier for you to put on the smile and show a sweet disposition, because at least that was when you seemed to be accepted into the tribe, accepted into the family dynamic. And it was also when there was less judgment that was going on in regards to you having a natural response to your boundaries being crossed, or a natural response to a situation that you did not resonate with and elicited a need for anger. Anger is not something to be afraid of. It is something that is safe for us to express. What is not safe is when our anger turns into an immediate projection onto other people and expecting them to handle our rage, right? But we can find healthy ways to express our rage and to express our anger. And for you, pile 2, there's a need here for you no longer to stay quiet, but rather to honor the anger as a process of your healing journey, which can be incredibly powerful for you. You might hear some noise. They're fixing the awning on the RV. It broke, and so that's going on outside. So you might hear some clanging and stuff like that. Just a quick note, but let's go ahead and hop to it and find out what you're terrified they'll see. Pile number 2, what you're terrified they'll see. What would you like to share with pile 2 today, source? Oh, and I didn't mention, we'll start with the dice, we'll get to the tarot, and then we will look at the oracle cards last, okay? So yeah, we have the first house, we have Cancer energy, and we have the South Node. You have built an identity around compassion and caretaking of others. And it's like you have basically wiped yourself from being able to express anything other than concern for another person, right? That's where your people pleasing lies at with this combination of dice. You've identified with being the concerned parent, the concerned child, the concerned friend, the concerned individual, coworker, boss, whatever situation it is. It can be all of those, it can be some of those, but you have become the concerned one. And in being the concerned one, you have suppressed the fact that, you know, you don't want to be. I feel like it's like you want someone to hear your concerns, your worries, your fears, but the minute that you try to vocalize them, there's something within you that says, nope, no one's going to accept it. Don't say it. Don't even go there. You can't share your fears and worries. You can't have any fears or worries because it's not allowed. That's you talking back, right? There's a line in this song, I was taught that speaking up was talking back. So anytime there's an injustice, anytime there's something that you feel like needs to be fixed, but there's no solution because you can't speak the solution, it just compounds into this incredible rage that is building inside of you. And every once in a while, that rage does burst out from the seams. And I feel like you get this energy where you immediately feel guilty and everybody calls you passive aggressive, or there's people in your life that call you, you know, like you don't care, or you're toxic, or that's you being codependent, and you've been labeled many, many times. And it's not, it's just seeping out the seams and it needs somewhere to go. And yes, maybe it's not a healthy expression of that anger because you've forced yourself into compartmentalizing it for so long that when it blows, it blows. You may have also labeled yourself as someone who has an incredible temper, but it only shows up every once in a while, or it takes a lot to get you to that point. The truth is that anger is something that is healthy for us to express at all points of our week, all points of our day. It's not something that we should hide from, right? However, when you're taught that because you got angry, like if your boundaries were crossed, I don't know why this specific story is coming in, but there's a specific story here. Maybe like you had a journal or a diary or something that you maybe drew in, like a sketchbook or something like that, that you left in your room. And somebody in your family would go in your room as a child and they would pick up this very private thing that you had and they would peruse it at their leisure and treat it like it wasn't that big of a deal. And then they would use what they found inside of it as a means to poke fun at you, or to make you feel bad, or to just make fun of whatever it was that was inside the book itself, okay? And when you got mad about that, because that's obviously a violation of your boundary, right? You put it in your room, it was your things, it was with your stuff, and they didn't ask. Just the same as like if this was a parent, they would expect you to ask before you touched anything of theirs, but they didn't ask before they touched anything of yours because there's this expectation that like you're the child and I'm the parent, which means that I have the rights to anything of yours without asking. And that's not true. That's over crossing your boundaries as a parent. And you're teaching your child that basically you're allowed to invite anybody into your life that doesn't care about your boundaries, that doesn't care about your private things, that doesn't care about your stuff, and that they can put their hands on it whenever they want, because I'm allowed to do that, but you can't do that to my stuff. And so there's this energy where you grew up respecting everybody else's stuff, but no one respected your things. And that anger, again, this is just the story or the example that's coming through. It's a really powerful energy that's coming through all of a sudden. And so I just feel like that's the example where there's something like that happened in your childhood, where a parent or a sibling, it could have been a sibling, right, who was always looking at your journal or always looking at your diary and then using that as a means to basically destroy you and to make you feel all kinds of ways about that. And then when you got angry, maybe your parents stepped in and were telling you, you know, that you didn't have a right to get angry like that. Like, oh, that's just siblings. That's what siblings do to each other. Like, they were dismissing your experience and invalidating your anger. And so at some point you learned that being angry was okay for everybody else, but it wasn't okay for you. And that's what you're letting go of, and that's what needs to be let go of here with the South Node. That's a part of the past. Now we're learning how to express that anger in a very clear foundational way. Which, how do you do that? That can be through journaling, can be through writing an angry letter that needs to be said and burning it. It could be learning how to do scream therapy. It could be learning about just being like, it's okay that I'm angry. I'm allowed to be angry right now. I'm allowed to be upset, and I'm allowed to take space so that I can be upset and work through this. Whatever it is, there are healthy ways of dealing with anger, but also embracing anger is something that can be incredibly powerful for you. And recognizing that your anger does not make you crazy. It does not make you difficult. It does not make you ungrateful, and it does not make you weird. Because if you're surrounded by people who are allowed to express their anger, but you're not, that's incredible data for you to use your discernment and recognize that these are not people who will ever let you be yourself. They're never going to give you space to be who you are in this moment, because they are trying to diminish an experience that you are having, which is anger itself. Hold on one second here. Hold on just a second. I gotta help my older dog. Okay, she just wanted to go in the back room, but she's older, and so she has a hard time getting her back leg underneath her, and so sometimes I need to help her up. She's good now. She's all right. So I think this is something though that's hard for you, because you've always felt like your anger was too much, and yet at the same time there's almost like a blame coming in here, where it's like you blame yourself for ever even feeling anger. Like, why should I feel anger if my anger's too much? And that's a really unfair situation to put yourself in, because you're human, and to have a human experience means we experience this whole spectrum of emotions. Anger through happiness, fear through love, right? These are things that are not separate from us. They're a part of our experience. And so it's been a challenge for you to accept that part of yourself. It's as though like anytime anger comes up, you see it as separate from you and doesn't belong, and you do your best to throw it away because you don't want to be seen as difficult. What you're terrified they'll see, that you feel hopeless, you feel trapped, you feel diminished, you feel inhuman, dehumanized. That's the word that's coming through specifically, that you feel dehumanized, that there's some kind of grand expectation that's been put on your shoulders, and that because of that, there's a huge depression or huge anxiety that follows that as well. Why is everybody else allowed to experience this, but I'm not? And so now that you're putting that pressure on yourself because of what you grew up with, or because of the expectations you had as a child, you're feeling a huge pressure of life is never going to get better. Like, this anger is going to keep growing. And if it keeps growing, like, I'm going to become a monster, and I don't want to be a monster. I feel like I'm a good person, and I feel like I have a lot to offer to people. But if they recognize, or if they see the anger that's beneath the surface, they're all going to think that I'm some alien that doesn't belong here, that has this emotion that everybody else gets to feel, but I don't, because there's some weird expectation put on me. And you don't want people to see you in a hopeless state, because that feels vulnerable, that people could ever know that you're in a hopeless state. But the thing is, pile 2, I learned a long time ago that the people who have the biggest smiles and laugh the loudest everywhere they go are the ones that carry the deepest scars. And sometimes that's the reason why nobody asks them, is because you have a smile on your face everywhere you go. When I was in 8th grade, I'll never forget this. I was in 8th grade. They gave out these awards in the school I was in. It was a private school. And they gave out these awards to us at the end of the first quarter. And They stopped doing it after that because it was just kind of like, it turned into a big joke. And one of the awards they gave out was You Have the Hairbrush Award. And that was because one of the girls that I went to school with, like, she always carried her hairbrush with her and she brushed her hair obsessively brush her hair when she sat down at her desk, like absolutely obsessive about it. And so that was the award that she got. So you could see what kind of awards it was. But the teacher, she saved mine for later on, and she said, I wanted to give this to you. And she said, yours is the Always Smile Award. And she said, because no matter what goes on in your life, Becky, you always come in with a smile. She's like, you could be having the worst day ever and no one would know because you have a smile. And at the time I was like, wow, what a cool thing to be noticed for. It wasn't until after I started healing that I realized, like, what a box to be shoved into. Right? Like, no matter what's going on in your life, we don't have to ask you what's going on because you have a smile on your face. Like, even though we see in your eyes you're suffering. And I feel like that's just such a weird place to be shoved into. And I feel like that's something that you yourself experience on your journey. Is like, you've gotten shoved into this box where it's like, well, but you're always happy. There's nothing wrong with your life. Or you're feeling that other people expect that or think that of you, whether it's true or not. There's a feeling behind that, and that feeling is profound, and it's keeping you from actually letting yourself express that anger. Or maybe someone said, like, you're so happy and sweet all the time, like you never get angry. And so there's like, I'm trying to hold on to that identity with the first house, right? Yeah, and it's just keeping you from possessing the abilities to move forward into a new beginning. With the Page of Wands here, you know, you think about Wands energy is passion, but it can also equal our passionate anger, right? Our expression of passionate anger, our spirit's expression of passion, which can be seen as anger. There's things here, and it's like, you could say that anger is an ego's feeling, but it's not. There's something that's injustice here. When our spirit feels a sense of injustice, it will express anger through us and say, hey, there's an injustice here that we need to identify and we need to face. And that's why it's like with the Page of Wands here, there's this uncertainty of being able to move forward in that. And I don't want people to see me being uncertain at any place, because I've become so secure and certain, holding a smile on my face and keeping my rage quiet. Yeah, but you feel the injustice with the Six of Wands here in the reverse. Like, you feel the injustice. There's indignation here. And, you know, like, I used to think that being indignant was probably like the worst feeling that anybody could feel. Like, why be indignant? Like, that's not fair. That's exactly why I was feeling indignant, because it's not fair. It's not fair. And this isn't fair, pile 2. And so there's a lot of anger that's coming through here for you. There's a lot of resentment. Why is it that they're allowed to have anger and I'm not? There's a lot of fear and anxiety that's attached to your anger. At some point, like, you could have just had a total meltdown because you never had a chance to express your anger, and you had a total meltdown, and that meltdown turned into a total bashing session where it's like, oh, look at pile 2. Look at the way they act when they get upset. Look at the way they act. They think that they have a right to treat us that way. Like, it could have turned into some huge show. But I feel like there's something here where it's like, either the people around you didn't realize they were putting you in this box because they themselves don't know how to handle anger, and so they use it as a means to vomit, you know, word vomit onto others when I say that, right? Like, you know, just overwhelm others with this terrible heavy energy because they can't handle it themselves. Or there was like covert narcissists or narcissists at play here where you were not allowed to feel anything that did not benefit them. Okay, and, you know, I was talking about this in pile 1 too with narcissists. We can say that narcissists are aware and that what they do is very calculating, but I also want to remind people that narcissism is a coping mechanism just the same way that having quiet anger is a coping mechanism. So while it's there under the surface, eventually keeping it under the surface becomes something that you're influenced by, and that becomes a part of who you are. And the same with narcissism. So instead of just blaming the narcissist, if we can take a step back and start looking at them like, wow, they're coming from a very heavy coping mechanism they're unable to control, and they have to choose to let that go. And that's not something that they're ready or willing to, but there has been instances where a narcissist has, okay? But the thing is if that's the case, instead of blaming them, oh, well, they're narcissists and of course I'm going to go through this, like it's their fault, that's that resentment. Okay, of course you never deserve that. It's unfair. It was totally uncalled for. But when you're directing all the anger at them for what has happened in the past, you're not allowing yourself to heal it in this future moment, in this present moment. Okay, and that's where the anxiety is coming from, because it's like replaying it over in your mind and not ever giving it an opportunity to be expressed through you. What's a healthy way to express that? Yeah, I've said this before. I'm just going to give one. There's plenty of other ways, like boxing, kickboxing, fighting styles, like learning how to fight in a safe environment with trainers, okay? That's always a healthy way to get out that energy, working out, running, all these things. But if you don't have access to that, one of the easiest things you can do is set a timer for 5 minutes, grab your pillow and punch the living daylights out of your pillow for 5 minutes as hard as you can. Keep punching it. Don't stop. Don't stop until that timer goes off. Don't stop, and think about all the unjustified things that have happened to you. Just let them run through. Just be like, you know, like this is so-and-so's face, and just punch, 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 and this is so-and-so, and they added like this, punch, 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 and just keep going. I'm going to tell you what, that 5 minutes is going to last for an hour. That's what it's going to feel like. Your arms are going to be tired. You're going to be sweaty. You're going to be out of breath. And that's okay. There you go. Guess what? You just learned a very healthy way of expressing your anger without taking it out on somebody. It was very private. You did it with yourself. You let your thoughts run wild for a minute. You gave them an opportunity to be expressed in that moment. And that's what they're asking for, is to be expressed. And that's when you begin to move forward from this. I think that needs just a few more minutes, but let's ask, what happens when pile 2 begins to express their anger? Wow, okay. So you have the 8 of coins in the reverse coming out. So you had conformed to a past situation in your life. You were building blocks based on an old version of yourself, but that's when the transformation happens with the nameless, or the number 13 card from the Tarot Marseille. You begin cutting out those cycles from the past and let yourself move on. Something that has once left you absolutely catatonic and even listless is coming in for some reason. But yeah, it's just left you completely unable to move forward, and you're going to do the work to transform that into something that is more valuable for your journey moving forward, because we can use that rage, right? We can use it as a creative outlet. We can use it to fuel our creations. We can be like, you know what? That's not fair, and I'm going to use all that rage to fuel my creativity. I'm going to use all that rage to fuel my want to build something for myself. I'm going to use that as the energy. Like every time I get mad like that, I'm going to pour that into something that's creative for myself. And you'd be surprised. You're going to go further than you ever realized. But it's a healthy way of expressing that rage and that anger instead of bottling it up, because bottling it up is just beginning to weigh too much on you. And you're terrified that people are going to see that you feel anger too. And let me tell you, pile 2, anger is normal. Stop making it seem like it's not allowed, because it's a normal thing. It's so normal, and it's okay for you to feel anger. But I can tell you, until I'm blue in the face, if you don't choose to see that for yourself, you're never going to be able to let yourself step over the threshold and experience what anger can do for you in a creative sense. What happens when pile number 2 begins to express their anger? Yeah, so right now there's a disconnection between you and source, you and your spirit, because the ego's winning every time because of the broken heart, the betrayal, the letdowns, the hurt, the pain, the sorrow, whatever it is coming up with the Ace of Cups in the reverse. So the disconnect is coming from the inability to open your heart to bigger and more aligned things. I'm not going to say better, but I'm going to say more aligned, because it might not look better than what you've gone through in the past, because that's a fear, right? I'm not trying to dishearten anybody here. What I'm trying to say is that when we're going through more valuable alignment lessons, it does not appear to be better than what we were experiencing when we were not in alignment, because it comes with hard challenges that make us face ourselves, and those facing ourselves means for us to take a step up a ladder that we don't know if we have the strength to hold ourselves on. And when we realize we have the strength, we're shaking, the ladder is shaking, it's continuing to get worse. We're like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can hang on to this anymore. But you're learning how to stabilize yourself in that. And then eventually you stabilize yourself, you're not shaking anymore. And once you become stable, it's asking you to take another step up, which is equally as uncomfortable as that first initial step. That's just how it is. That's part of our journey. The bottom of the deck, the hangman in the reverse. What has happened here is that you have a perspective that's not seeing clearly, right? It's like holding on to the ace of coins in the reverse. It's holding on to something incredibly toxic for the sake of saying, I identify with this. It's almost as if I let go of my anger and find a creative way to express it, then I let go of an identity that I've worked tirelessly to fill the cracks in with mortar and to build a semblance of a foundation on. So you're asking me to take a hammer to that and crack my foundation open. Yes. Yes, pile 2. That's exactly what's happening. We're asking you to crack that baby wide open. Let it open. Let it be. Let it stand as it is. Let it crumble and fall apart, because that foundation, all it's doing is it's creating more space for you to compartmentalize, which eventually the bigger that space becomes, the bigger the blow up's going to become when it inevitably comes, because you're not going to ever master the art of never letting your anger get the best of you at some point, because there's always going to be one thing that breaks the camel's back. There's always going to be that one thing. It's going to appear no matter what, because that's life. That's how it is. So part of this is learning how to perceive yourself from a place of comfort. You know, the hangman is such a unique energy, because he asks us to be okay with ourselves in our skin in this moment. The good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, whatever comes with that. And that's why these came out together, because it's like spiritually, it's like you want to be at that next level. You want to climb that ladder rung, but also at the same time, you still don't want to give away that mask, because you're terrified that they'll see you're human too. It's like sometimes, even with, I see this a lot with those of us who identify as starseeds, you know, of the, what is it, in the world but not of the world. It's like we want something that gives us an exact reason as to why we don't belong. But the truth is, regardless of what you identify with, it's fine. I'm not telling you not to identify with that. I also feel like I'm a starseed as well. But what happens is we came to this earth to experience human. That's what we came to experience, and we're trying to do our best not to be human, but our lesson is to become truly human. What is that experience? What does that mean when I allow myself to be present with the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs, the good and the bad? What does that mean? Not, I need an excuse to identify with so that I can say I'm not human like everybody else, like I'm different from everybody else. You're already different, because you're here to express your experience through your perspective and your life, so that already makes you unique. But what doesn't make us unique is the fact that we're each here having this human experience, and all of us experience the range of emotions. And that's why it's so hard sometimes, because there's this identity that's been wrapped up in, you're not allowed to feel that way. But how unfair to put that on yourself while also watching others comfortably or uncomfortably express their own anger, their own fears, their own sorrows, right? Yeah, look, we've got square coming out. This is a challenging situation and a mountain to climb. It's not the promise that it'll be easy, right? That's not what Source is saying. I'll never promise that it's going to be easy. I will promise you the steps to getting there are simple, but you still have to show up and do the steps, right? It's going to take a lot of persistence, patience, and practicality. One of the things I live by, I actually have it written on my little whiteboard over here, is peace, patience, and persistence. If we can show up in every part of our lives with an aspect of peace, patience, and persistence, we will be able to overcome anything in our lives. So it's about grounding yourself into this here now moment without a fear of you being seen as somebody who is unmanageable. It's not anybody's job to manage you. It's our jobs to manage ourselves. But if we're leaving it to everybody else to validate our here now existence, we're going to be disappointed every time, and they're going to disappoint us every time. Radical honesty. Yeah, to believe in the facade is to suffocate in the armor of alienation, self-defeat, and self-denial. Can you be radically honest with yourself, and can you accept that you're going to feel anger just like a normal person, right? I feel anger. Like, I used to hide my anger as well because I grew up in a situation in that I was never allowed to express anger. And if I ever got angry, so say like I got angry at my brother, like parents would step in and say, nope, that's enough. You guys have to apologize to each other. And we never had time to process how we felt about the situation. We never had time to be like, wow, I'm angry. I need some space away from you to process this. We were forced into a situation where we had to say, I'm sorry. And if we didn't sound like we meant it or like it was sincere, it would cause trouble for us. And that would be brought up again. Say it like you mean it. And so we got really good at masking a meaningful, sincere apology, but it never was meaningful and it never was sincere. We just learned the tone that was accepted. Not that that was ever changing how we felt about the situation. So we were taught that anger was not accepted growing up. And so when I started feeling all of my rage and my anger begin to surface, I started feeling like I was completely inhuman, because it was like I wasn't allowed to feel anger as a child. Anger was just not an acceptable emotion in our family. It just wasn't. But we saw anger. Right, saw parents and grandparents and caretakers get angry all the time at each other, with us as kids, and all of that. And so it creates this really weird dynamic where the expectation as a child who knows nothing of this world is basically forced into a situation where you're not allowed to be angry and you should know better. What should I know better? I know nothing. But we're put all that weight and all that expectation is placed on us, right? Yeah, shapeshifter, transform and unveil your gifts. So this specific anger that's coming through is actually hiding one of your greatest gifts, your ability to be present with others as they heal their own gift, their own anger, their own feelings of alienation in a very unique way as well. So this fell out, a new start is coming. And I feel like Source just wants to remind you that regardless of how difficult this is, there is something else that's awaiting for you. Be brave to take that step. Wow, this just flew out of the deck. So a new romantic cycle begins with new moon in Libra. It's all about balancing your energies as well, right? Balancing your love for self. And the question here, Pal 2, is how can you continue to love yourself even when you're angry? That's the true definition of unconditional love. It's not about controlling yourself. It's not about forcing yourself back into some unexpressed box. It's about recognizing that I'm angry. I'm allowed to be angry, and I'm allowed to love myself deeply even though I'm angry. Right? Like, that is such a different feeling than saying like, how could you be angry? Like, you're not allowed to feel angry. So you get angry for feeling angry, which creates more anger, which creates more compartmentalization, and it just spirals out of control eventually. But yeah, a win-win outcome is forecast. So not only do you have a new moon in Libra, you have full moon in Libra. So this tells me that some of you may have your moon in Libra, and you're just in the shadow aspect of the emotional side of that, which is okay, which means there's an imbalance, right? But to have full moon and the new moon come out, the main thing here is about balance. We want to bring this into balance because it's greatly imbalanced right now. There's a lot of unfair situations that have been unfolding in your life, and a lot of unfair circumstances that have taken precedence over your right to experience anger in this moment. One second. My apologies. I have family home, and my dog went in the back room and opened the door, and it was just, the TV was filtering out here so loud. So you might have heard that. That's what that was. So I feel like that's another thing too. It's like the anger feels like a lot of noise that you're trying to block out, and it's not noise that needs to be blocked out. It's something that you can observe and recognize for what it is. Yeah, Leo, confidence is key. And I feel like this is another powerful reminder, is that anger is not taking you away from your confidence. It's not taking you away from your abilities. It's not taking you away from your capabilities. It's not something that makes you inept. It's something that is a part of who you are. And if you accept the wholeness of who you are, then you step into a far more confident version of yourself. All right, let's get one of these, because I feel like you need one of these. What else for pile 2 source? And please, I don't want you to feel bad about this being brought up either, right? Like, our shadow brings a lot of triggers with it. It's a lot of things that we don't want to face, and a lot of things that we don't know if we're ready to face. But the fact that you're here and the fact that you're listening to this says that you're ready to face this aspect of yourself. Yeah, it's in your energy for a reason. Wow, look at this. This is peeking out right here. Comfort, because it's been a part of your comfort zone for too long. And it's been affecting your ability to manifest good things into your life. And it's not that you did anything wrong. This is not why we're bringing it up. It's just that you're blocking yourself from letting your energy flow freely, because that's what you've been comfortable with, the South Node energy coming out. Let's see what these say. Yeah, you need rest because of the anger, and keep the faith that good things are coming for you here. But really telling energy here, right? The open eye that's cracked with the closed eyes next to it. It's okay for you to rest from this anger. This has been incredibly exhausting because it became your comfort zone. And to have faith that everything is going to work out, like your energy is bringing this to you. You're ready to hear this message, to cleanse this from your present moments of taking over. What's a starseed oracle for you? They want one more. One more starseed oracle for pile number 2. Whoa, coming in. Jump in. Flew out. Andromedan energy, adventure, and say yes to change. So again, you could feel like you're an Andromedan. Like you could identify with that. But also we see the eye here. The eye of change and the eye of knowing. And I feel like that's the thing. Seeing through this. Jumping in and seeing through it. Seeing clearly. I feel like your life is meant to take you places that feel adventurous, but also that allow you to creatively channel your anger, and to be seen as creatively channeling that anger to help heal others. So, you know, that could be in a job that you take, that could be in a creative endeavor like music or art or crafts or something like that. It could be just you talking to people and sharing your story with others and healing them in that way. I feel like your anger is going to send you to places that you didn't know existed, not because you're angry, but because you're able to see your anger as an integral part of you, and that you're allowed to experience it. The cosmic heart, devotion, potency, and make your life a moving prayer. This is also going to help you reconnect with your heart chakra and invite love in. And I feel like that's something that's been really challenging for you along the way, is inviting love in. Like, what does that look like? Yeah, emotional energy. Yeah, exactly. Emotions are messengers to be met with appropriate attention, action, and gratitude. Anger included. Anger included here. Okay. Radical, I could not make this energy up. Radical self-acceptance. You are perceived the way you perceive yourself. So this is a really telling energy here too, because it's showing like you learned from somebody that anger wasn't okay. And so now every time you try to express your anger, it's seen as not okay by people around you because you feel it's not okay. But the minute that you choose to accept that it's okay, either the people who don't agree with that are going to vibe out of your life, or it's going to help radically change the way people see you that are around you right now, because they've never known how to treat you any differently, because you didn't know how to treat you any differently. So this radical self-acceptance is something that's necessary for your journey right now. So we have the great teacher, learn from spiritual experience. Okay, so like this is the thing, like you're meant to be a great teacher here. You're meant to help bring peace to the chaos of people's lives, because anger is something that you're not the only one that's dealing with. It's something that is greatly widespread. Like people have such an issue with the emotion of anger. I feel like, oh, if I experience anger, that makes me a bad person. That is such a misconcept on this journey. 7th house, make a commitment. Commit to yourself. Commit to what you want to experience in this world. Commit to the journey. It's like you've got the love, Hadrian energy, codependency, and boundaries. So this comes from a codependent cycle from your past. And the minute you set boundaries, including with your emotional ego, where your emotional ego is saying like, we're not allowed to experience anger. And you step in and you say, yes, we are. Maybe before we weren't, but now we are. And I'm safe. And I'm allowed to experience this anger because I'm safe and I want to move through it. Right? And it's reminding your emotional ego that now you're in charge. And that also allows your inner child to come through and help you heal those old wounds. Yeah, caution. This is a danger zone. Danger zone. That's what it feels like. Feels like a danger zone for you, pile 2. It's like, no. I cannot go with the anger. I cannot do it. I don't want to go down that road because it's scary. But when you commit to healing yourself in this way, even though it's a challenge, you begin to open up to other experiences that help heal other people. And even if that's not something that you want, it's okay. The vibration that you step into through healing yourself sends a ripple out in the cosmos, and it touches the people it's meant to, even if you do nothing at all. And so you healing yourself, it's going to help your future generations not have to deal with this anymore. And it's actually going to heal past generations, whether you realize that or not. This is something that you're healing from the family lineage. And it's been hard to carry this. And you didn't deserve to have to go through all of this, no. But even though we don't deserve to go through the hardships in our lives, when we become aware, it's our responsibility to face them with courage and confidence, knowing that we became aware for a purpose. The awareness was given to us for a purpose. And that can be scary too, but you are more than capable of doing it. If I can do it, I know that you can do it. I am not some strange being up here that was given some strange gift to figure it out. I had to learn the hard way, and I stumbled my way through, and I'm still stumbling my way through with anger. But I'm learning how to initiate a healthy response to my anger and recognize and accept that it's okay that I'm angry, instead of trying to shove it away or use it as a means to cut people off at the knees like I used to in my past. I was very vicious with words in my past, and now I choose to see anger as something that is just a part of the experience. And just like sorrow and sadness, if I sit with it, it too shall pass, like a passing cloud in the sky. So let's take a look at your card. I'm going to read this from the book. We're going to see what it says. Peacock. Allow yourself to be seen. And also prosperity and abundance with Peacock too. Alright, so where are you at, Peacock? Not like you're hard to miss. Vulture, crow, owl, dragonfly, nightingale, peacock. Look at this. I love this. Inner beauty, compassion, and assimilator of anything. The beauty of the peacock is unrivaled. It's easy to think it comes from the plumage, but the secret of the peacock is that the beauty resides within and extends outward indefinitely. This adept creature can assimilate or digest all experiences in life, so it does not harbor resentment. Oh my gosh, what an incredible synchronicity with what I was feeling. Resentment, conflict, or past pain within the psyche. The peacock type is extremely rare. Not many of us has reached this advanced level of acceptance of the self and others. When in balance, you're confident and kind. When out of balance, you cannot digest situations. To bring into balance is to meditate on the navel. What an incredible, like absolutely baffling, incredible, and beautiful synchronicity, right? The resentment. We talked about the resentment at the beginning, the secret resentment and the quiet rage. And so Peacock's here to help you quell that resentment, because resentment keeps us in incredibly low vibrational energy, and it will not allow us to manifest better situations in our lives until we begin to accept. And acceptance isn't an admission of what has happened. It's not saying like, oh, it happened and whatever, you know, like that's okay that it happened. That's not what it is. Acceptance is saying, I cannot change what happened in the past. We can't. Do you have a time machine? Because if you do, let me know. That would be awesome. Although I don't know if I want to go back and change any of my past, because my past is what brought me to here. But none of us have a time machine. At least not yet. And even if we did, thinking about the butterfly effect, how much would that change? It would completely rewrite our entire lives. So acceptance is this. Saying it happened. I cannot change it. I accept that it happened and that I cannot change it. That's what acceptance is. It's not saying I accept that they got away with it. I accept that they did it. I accept that this. I accept that the situation unfolded in my life and I cannot change it. But I can change myself, and I choose to change myself. And that's where radical self-acceptance comes from. It's one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. We're not asking you to run a race here. You're not in a relay, okay? You're in a marathon, one foot in front of the other, and you will get there. Step by step, inch by inch, it becomes a cinch, okay? So this is what I see for you today, pile 2. Let's take a moment to breathe in our affirmation. If you would like to claim this reading, leave the little peacock emoji down below and say, today I choose to accept that anger is a natural part of my journey, and it is okay for me to find a safe space within to express it and allow it to be what it is. If this reading spoke to your soul, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to, you are more than welcome to share your story down below. I do read them all. If you'd like to check out the tools that were used in today's reading or to support the channel further, you'll find all of those links in the description box. With that, I would like to take a moment to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, and my spirit guides for coming together to give us this truly powerful message today. And until next time, pile number 2, stay human. Bye. Welcome back, my fellow humans. I'm so honored to be sharing this human experience with you today. This video is specifically for the ones that have had to walk their shadow path in secret out of fear of being misunderstood or rejected. Now, I do things differently here. We aren't looking at what someone else is doing or predicting the future. We're actually looking inward. So please remember that triggers may arise. Do not force them to fit, but maybe view them as a beautiful blueprint for your own healing journey. This is for pile 3. Those of you that felt called to this dice with the 7th house on it, or perhaps felt drawn to this piece of garnet, or maybe you were drawn to this card during the shuffle. This is going to be your reading on what you're terrified that they'll see. So for you, pile 3, I was getting this energy coming through of shame, of wanting more than survival. Like wanting more than just the bare minimum. Like just like food and water, basically. Like wanting more than that and feeling like you don't have a right to ask for that, right? So there's this broken cycle of inherited scarcity that's coming through. You have private guilt where you experience when you try to choose happiness, abundance, or luxury for yourself. You're terrified of being viewed as selfish, frivolous, or uncaring by those who stay stuck in a cycle of lack or poverty. And there's a deeper truth coming through here where you're actively harboring a massive, beautiful vision for your future independence and personal power, but you're terrified that stepping fully into that bright spotlight will cause the people from your past to lash out, reject you, or claim you have changed. Okay? And this is a really heavy energy coming through. I'm actually glad that it waited until pile 3 to give me this type of energy, because that shame is real. It's like, so if you were raised in a very religious background like Christianity, where it says money is the root of all evil, but you're asking for money to survive, right? Like more than survive. You want money to feel comfortable. You immediately feel shame. Like, oh my gosh, that goes against my beliefs. Like I'm not allowed to want money. I'm not allowed to deserve money because it's the root of all evil, right? And this is, again, just an example. But you could have lived in a dynamic where you had a family that would give you a taste of luxury. Like if you wanted to learn an instrument, right? Like they would have signed you up for instrument classes, like playing the piano, just as an example. They put you in playing the piano. They'd let you go through it for a couple of weeks. And when you were finally like, wow, I really love doing this, then the next thing you know, they're like, oh, it's too expensive to carry on. Right? Like, or you always had to get hand-me-down clothes while maybe your siblings got brand new clothes, but you got all their hand-me-downs. And it was always like, well, there's not enough money, so somebody needs new clothes, but because you're not bigger than your brother or your sister, you need to take their clothes, right? So there's this always getting like the short end of the stick energy that's coming through, and it's really, really strong, and it's overwhelming. And it feels very like, it feels very vicious. It's a very vicious cycle. Like you want more and you have this massive dream, and it's like maybe even you envision yourself in a life of luxury, being able to travel at the drop of a hat and go wherever you want and buy whatever you want without fear of struggle of money, because I feel like you've been in a poverty state for a lot of your life where you've lived from paycheck to paycheck, and moving out of that is incredibly scary because it's asking you to do something that you've never seen anybody do in your family, so you've never had an example of, but it's also asking you to create that for yourself. And so being asked to create that for yourself, that also feels shameful because you're saying, I want something completely different than my family, and I want something completely different than what I grew up in, and that feels like I don't appreciate the background that I came from. But I feel like you're the one, Pile 3, where you don't forget where you came from, and you will never forget where you came from, because it's that exact same reason of where you came from that's going to be your greatest push moving forward to getting you to where you want to go, knowing that you do deserve those good things. So let's find out. We're going to start with the dice, move to the tarot, and then get into the oracle. So what you're terrified that they'll see, Pile 3. Source, what would you like to share with Pile 3 today? What you're terrified they'll see. Okay, yeah, so we have the 5th house, Capricorn energy, and the North Node. The nodes have been coming out like wild today. In fact, a node came out in every one of the readings. Every single one of them. Very quickly. Maybe you've been here for all 3 readings. If you are, that makes you part of my Purple Heart Club. And if you are, leave a purple heart down below, but make sure you stick around for the end of the reading until after Pile 3, because there is a special gift for you guys. All right, so, and if you're here for Pile 3 alone, great. Thank you so much. That's amazing, and I'm grateful that you're here. I don't want to invalidate that because I appreciate anybody who spends any amount of time with me. But for the Purple Hearts, I just want to give something back, and you'll find that at the end of the reading. You're terrified that they will think that you're not capable of being a leader. That to lead means to dig the trenches. And there's this energy where it's like, well, my family's been digging the trenches of poverty, and so to be seen as a leader or like walking up, I don't know why I keep seeing this, the head of the family. To step into the head of the family dynamic means that you have to start digging the trenches of poverty as well. And this could be specifically the father wound coming in with Capricorn energy here, showing that you had a father who expected that, like, they didn't want to be put into a box of poverty, but they didn't earn more than poverty's level. But like having a champagne taste on a beer budget is coming in. And this energy of never being able to get out of that, or also the father wound coming in of the anger and resentment of having a family to take care of and never getting to experience the joy of single life with the paycheck that he was earning the way he wanted to spend it. And that resentment trickled onto you guys, and it trickled onto your family. And so your family was always on edge about how the father here, okay, in father energy, could have still been a mom who was maybe a fire and air sign, or a mother who was very masculine, a single mother who has really been leaning into that masculine energy. Okay, so this is just masculine energy that's coming through here. Excuse me. But that energy was showing, it's like every time that, like, you know, the example would be like every time they got paid, it was like, oh, if you needed shampoo or something, right? Like a very basic thing, like, oh, I need shampoo, I'm all out. They would make a huge deal about it and make you feel absolutely wretched because you needed something basic. And so it's like even groceries, like if someone made you feel absolutely tragic that you needed to eat, right? But the other thing is I did this with my ex a lot. My ex was like this. So they're showing me here. My ex would always get so mad about spending grocery money, like what we needed, but then would spend $800-900 a week on eating out. And then be like, why are we broke? Why don't we have money to pay our bills? And, you know, it's just a wild thing. But like that, like as long as it catered to this idea that they were living in luxury, again, mother or father, they were okay with it. But the minute that it was something that was like a necessity, there's an immediate like, oh my gosh, I can't. And so I feel like there's a lot of resistance when you go to the store and you buy yourself anything, whether that is basics, whether that's food, and God forbid you want to buy yourself a luxury, you always hold back and think, do I really need this? Like, I feel like you put a lot of things you desire on hold because you're like, well, can I really afford this right now? Can I really give myself this right now? It's like, well, no, I gotta get groceries, or I gotta get clothes for the kids for school, or I gotta get, you know, school supplies, or I have to get myself clothes right now, and I can only afford like 3 outfits, and can I put that into 2 outfits? Like maybe get 3 pairs of pants and 2 shirts instead of 3 pairs of pants and 3 shirts and underwear and you know, whatever I need, like all these necessities. It's like you're always trying to do the math to fit it in, or you're always like trying to diminish or minimize the fact that you need something. You're calling a necessity like a luxury in some cases. Like you have all your pants have holes in them, and you're like, it's cool, I'll just buy some patches and I'll patch them up, and then I don't have to buy any new pants. But your pants are literally like falling apart at the seams, but you're seeing that as a luxury to go and buy pants. But then going back to your childhood, whomever your caretakers were, was like, whoa, man, they would go and spend tons of money on their clothes, and they would like make it seem like it was all a big old shopping and outing day for them and focused on what they wanted. But then the minute I was like, oh, well, I need to get this uniform for school, it turned into holy HE double hockey stick because you needed something, a necessity. And so there's this mix up here, and part of your path, pile 3, is to step into stability with this Capricorn and North Node energy together, is to step into stability, financial stability. That is something that is promised for your journey if you choose to do the work for it. I cannot say it's promised no matter what, because that's not true. Because if you stop doing anything to get there, it's not just going to fall into your lap. But if you choose to do the work, if you choose to put in the effort, financial security and financial independence is something that's promised on your journey. It's going to come through hard work and dedication, because you have to change those neural pathways that say, I'm never going to get there even with hard work, right? Part of that is you continuing to do hard work and still holding that hope in your heart. And then one day the hard work, even if you're still at a impoverished level right now, one day that hard work turns over a new leaf. And when it turns over a new leaf, it almost feels like you're going to be skyrocketed into a place that you never even knew was possible for yourself or for anybody from your lineage. And it's going to be an incredible feat for you. Now, I do want to warn for those of you that have this energy or that this is resonating with, to please be careful, because it is wild how many people come out of the woodworks when they find out about money, that you have money, and the way people will treat you when they find out you have money. So if this is something that you can keep entirely to yourself, please do, okay? If it's not something that you can keep entirely to yourself, don't discuss it with anybody, right? No matter what. Like, don't talk numbers with anybody, don't talk background with anybody, don't talk about any of that. And using a no as a complete sentence is something that will be very beneficial for you. And I feel like even if that's a challenge for you, just remember that it's okay. You do not owe anybody anything. Because I feel like having a impoverished family, and then if you find success, suddenly all of their poverty becomes your problem because you can afford it. You know, I remember that when I was little, my grandpa's brother, he came to talk to my grandparents. My grandparents had built a secure, I mean, I won't say that they were like super luxurious or anything, but they had bought their house. Like, they're one of the first in our family to buy a house and to buy their cars. Like, they bought their cars and they had nice things. Like, my grandparents, when they wanted something nice, they went and they bought it. And, you know, like, they didn't really struggle for money, but my grandma is the one who created that. Like, she created the envelope system before the envelope system was a thing. And so when I was talking to her about Dave Ramsey, she's like, oh, that's what that's called? She's like, I just thought that was called budgeting. And it's like, well, yeah, it is budgeting. And she's like, I didn't know it had a name. We were laughing about it at one point. But I remember when I was little that my great uncle came, and the way he approached my grandma about money, because my grandma was the one who handled all the finances, because my grandpa was terrible with money, like, still, right? And so my grandma handled all the finances, and she took care of everything because she's the one who figured it out. And they were asking money for a down payment on a house, and it was like they needed this large amount. They were like, well, we need you. It wasn't for the house. It wasn't for the down payment itself. It was to help get them out of debt so they could get approved for the loan for the house. That's what it was. And you know, my grandma asked all these questions about it, and she's like, you know, I really need to think about it. And what really solidified my grandma's no, because it was a no, let me tell you, what really solidified my grandma's no in this situation before they ever left that day, like, they were supposed to stay for a week, and they ended up driving home that night, and they lived in an entirely different state. And what ended up happening is they told my grandma, they said, I don't know what your problem is. Why can't you just help us? It's not like you can't afford it. My grandma closed up her little bookkeeping book. She closed up their little proposal that they gave to her. She handed their proposal back, and she said, you know what? No. And they're like, but you can afford it. She said, no. I hope you guys have a nice day, but no. And this was such a weird thing, but it ended up starting to get circulated around my family, which is how I found out about it, because my mom and my grandma talked about everything together. And so we ended up hearing the story when we were over there having lunch with my grandma, like a day after they left, because we were like, weren't our uncle, weren't they supposed to be here? Our aunt and uncle? Well, it was our uncle and his new wife that he had. So she wasn't really an auntie, but she was in the family now. And so anyways, so my grandma told my mom the story. We were all sitting there when she was telling her the story, and my mom was like, wow, I can't believe that you said no to them. But it was just really interesting, because I feel like that's the thing. It's like, people are going to have these excuses. Well, you can afford it, so why should we suffer because you can afford it? That's an interesting question, right? That's a really interesting question that you have, because it's none of my business and it's not my problem. And that sounds so rude. But you know what? What's actually rude is the way they approached it. Saying that you can afford it, saying that it's your problem now, saying that I shouldn't have to take care of my problems the way that you figured out how to take care of your own problems. I'm sorry. You're saying that you don't have to figure it out? Like, where were you when I was struggling? And that was another thing too that my grandma told my mom. She's like, you know, we struggled at some point, and I had asked them for help and they told me no. And she's like, I was considering telling them yes. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what solidified my no is the fact that they told me that I could afford it. She says, regardless if I could afford it or not, I could have handed them the whole money right there in cash. She's like, it doesn't matter. She's like, whether I could or I couldn't. It's not about the fact that she could or she couldn't. That's not what it was. It was the way they handled the situation. And that's what family does, and that's what people do. Family or not, that's what people do when they find out that you got money. But I do feel like financial stability is something that's meant for your journey. Yeah, what you're terrified they'll see is that you don't belong. That you don't belong to them, and that you never have. What you're terrified they'll see. Whoa, yeah, that... Oh my gosh, Pile 3, I'm so sorry you've gone through that. I only laugh because it's just like, wow. They're really... This energy, again, we're not looking at someone else, but it's like what you're terrified they'll see is that you never love them. Like, They're going to use that as an excuse to see, I told you you didn't love me. See, I told you you didn't care about what I was going through. See, I told you that you're just selfish and all you care about is yourself, with these two cards together. And that they'll pressure you into giving them whatever it is that they're asking for. But at the end of the day, stop and think about all your actions when it came to them. How many times did you help them when you could? How many times did you take care of things that weren't your responsibility to take care of? How many times did you lift them up when they fell down? How many times did you show unconditional love because the title family? You love them. That's not something that we're questioning here from the spiritual realm at all. You love them. So do not let them convince you that you don't love them. And do not let them convince you that the way you see the situation unfolding and by making a decision that best serves you is selfish, because it's not. But that's something that you're terrified that they'll see. That's something that you're terrified that they'll say. There's going to be a backlash for you moving into an entirely different tax bracket without them. How dare you not take me along? How dare you not pay me back? How dare you not do this for me? That's the biggest fear that's coming through for you, pile 3. Because to you, I feel like many of you have had dreams. So like there's a dream here for, especially if you're a son, especially this is very specific for someone that's a son of a single mother. Okay. Very specific. There's the dream of being like the football player or like the basketball player, an NBA star, or even an MLB star, right? Like there's this dream of being able to buy your mom's a house, right? Like I want to buy my mom's a house. Like that's what I hear. I want to buy my mom's a house. But the problem is that she's not in a position where she can actually accept it from you if you can. And you buy her a house, let's just say that you buy her a house, she's in an environment in herself where she's not going to take care of it because she's in an energy of poverty. So the house is going to fall by the wayside, and then she's going to put all these additional expenses on you, and she's going to try and drag you back down into her poverty level. And that's why it's like, but I heard that, like, I want to buy my mom's a house. Like I heard that really loudly. And so it does feel like it's just a warning to you as well that while financial stability is meant to be on your journey, tread lightly moving forward as you do. Because the thing is that your biggest fear is that they won't see your love for them. But money doesn't buy love, pile 3. There's no way it can. And if they've convinced you that you buying them things, if they've convinced you that you giving them things is what gives them love, because I do feel like for many of you, maybe you grew up in a situation where your parents tried to buy your love through taking you out to eat, or like, again, like it was all about them. And so when they saw that they couldn't win your approval through that anymore, they couldn't win your support, that they would buy you one little tiny thing, like some little keychain that was a little ratty keychain on the little thing there. And they're like, oh, here. And you treasured it. It was like, oh my gosh, like they got me something, like, wow, that was so nice, like so amazing. Like I feel like when you got presents for your birthday, if you did, even if it was one gift, like just the fact that they thought about you, it elicited this response of like, oh, thank you so much. Like it didn't matter how terrible the gift was. It wasn't about the gift. It was the idea that they thought about you. And so there's this twisted version that's coming out through your shadow self where it's saying, if I do that for them, but on a much bigger scale, it's never going to be about the fact that I bought them a house. It's going to be about the fact that I thought of them on that level. But the way that they're going to receive it is, oh yeah, that's right. They're spending their money on me, so I don't have to do anything. All right, cool. Like I get to live this incredible life, and I'm just going to give them all of my problems, and I'll never have to worry again in my life. And they'll take care of it all, and they'll carry that heavy burden for me, so I can just spend as much money as I want without a fear in the world. And they really will come and give that to you. The house of God. Difficulty facing reality. See, it's a fear here. It's like something that you've identified with somewhere along the lines is that my care is based on me giving them something. And I feel like that also comes from if you were able to buy them gifts along the way, they may have made your gift be a big deal, right? Like, oh, you bought them a shirt that they had been asking for that they wanted or something like that. Maybe they made it a big deal when you gave it to them. Like, oh, thank you. You bought me this gift. You bought me this gift. But then they never wore it. And you're always like, but I thought you really liked that. oh, it's just at the bottom, I just forget that I have it. And you're like, well, but you talked about it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. But if you ever waited and let them buy something that they talked about for weeks and weeks and weeks, and they use it relentlessly, like it basically gets worn to threads because they wear it so much. And that might have been something that you noticed early on, right? And it doesn't have to be buying things. It could be anything. Like there's this element where material goods are used as a transaction for purchasing love in your family. That's what this feels like. I'm going to purchase your love, and then I get free reign to treat you however I want to. But also then using it too, like if you bought them something, then that means that they won, and they still get to treat you however they want. Yeah, it's time for you to see that no matter what you do, and no matter how much you heal, and no matter how much money you earn, they're never going to see you the way that you see them, with love. They're just never going to see that. And that's something that scares you, because it exposes the differing variants of emotional stability or lack thereof that you have in your life, and the exhaustion, the physical and mental exhaustion that you've gone through to maintain a semblance of emotional stability with them. You've been betrayed, you've been brokenhearted by them, and asking for more does not make you a rebel. It doesn't make you someone that's betraying them. It's that you see an opportunity to create a better life for yourself. And no matter what, at the end of the day, as much as we love our parents, as much as we love our kin, if somebody's coming from a healed state, whoever comes after us, right? So like if you become a parent, naturally, right now, you could probably think about, well, I want my kids to do better than me, because I don't want them to have the same struggles that I had. But a parent who is in a toxic mind state, an impoverished mind, they don't see it that way. They don't want their kids to do better than them, because they feel like that just highlights their inadequacies as a parent. Not all parents are like that, but there are a lot that are like that. And I feel like that's the thing that's being highlighted here. So there's a lot of outside pressure to stay the same. There's a lot of outside pressure to stay small. There's a lot of outside pressure to not change and to not grow, because if you are in a impoverished place right now, then I don't have to worry, because we're both impoverished and I'm not alone, but you're growing. I just feel like we want to get some, I don't have a direct question for source right now for you, pile 3. I just want to get some additional information here. Yeah, seeing things as superficial. You're growing beyond the superficiality of it, right? So you see that your family sees material items as something that dictates status. But you see material items as something that you can enjoy, but they're not who you are. So right now, moving beyond the superficial is the goal with the shadow, and embracing your creative endeavors and aspect. Bottom of the deck, yeah, the 7 of Swords. You're going to persevere. You're going to make it through this, but it's definitely weighing on the psyche. The Devil underneath that in the reverse. It's just showing the temptation has been there all along. You see the temptation that they're exhibiting, but a part of you does not want to honor the fact that they're coming from a tempestuous mind. And you're terrified that, like, you're trying to hold it together. There's a part of you that's trying to hold it together. You love them. And just a second, pile 3. Let me take a drink. Please, if you have something to drink, please take a drink. Because I'm about to say something, and I just feel like you need to ground for this, okay? You have an infinite heart. You love deeply. And to you, time has equaled loyalty. The longer somebody has stayed in your life, the more loyal you become, regardless of the way a person has treated you. And that's something that may have been incredibly hard for you to break. And there's an energy here that has latched on and held on to you for a long time. Again, I am getting that this could be a mother, but it doesn't have to be. It could be a father. Okay, it could be a father. We were seeing it was masculine energy, the father wound. So it's like the mother who's residing within the toxic masculine. Or this could be a father who is a Pisces or a Taurus energy, or has a feminine zodiac sign, which would be water or earth, okay? There's a sense of undying loyalty here. Like, as long as I stay loyal to them, then one day they're going to wake up and see me like I've always deserved to be seen. But the problem is that right now, as they see you building your life, they don't want you to get big. They don't want you to have this financial stability. But there's also this underlying belief that if you have financial stability, then they're going to have full access to that. Whether that cripples you or not, they don't care. They're not looking at you as you. They're looking at you as an extension of them. But there's a part of you that's looking at them as somebody that you owe something grand to. And you're terrified that if you don't pay that back, that they're going to have even more vicious and cruel things to say to you. And please understand that that is not your fault. You don't owe them. You didn't ask to be brought here, right? Like, I always think that that's so weird. Like, parents, they always feel like their kids owe them. And a lot of kids get put into that position where it's like, oh, well, you know what? They took care of me. They provided a roof over my head. This is not to be ungrateful by any means. They provided me food. They, you know, got me all these things. They took care of me for the whole of my life. That's a parent's job. Like, that's what you sign on to the minute you get pregnant. That's it. That's you put your hand in the bucket. That's what you got. That's it. That's what it is to be a parent. Like, thinking about it now, if you have your own kids or if you have kids, would you ever treat them like that? That you expect them to owe you? Because I feel like because you've been put in that situation, that's just not something that you would ever consider, pile 3. So if that's not something that you would ever consider, why are you allowing someone to treat you that way? Out of fear of being seen selfish or being seen as ungrateful or being seen as someone who doesn't care? That's not fair to you. For wanting more, that's not fair to you. And if they say, well, you're different. Yeah, I am. Let it be true. Cool. I can't believe you did that. You're not my child. Okay. Oh my gosh, do you know what I gave to you? Do you know what I sacrificed in this life for you? Do you know how much money I put into you? Yeah. You don't need to say anything else. Gray rock them. Be like, you know what? Because trying to explain that to them, that's what you signed up for. They don't see it that way. They see you as a free ticket. And your fear is being seen as someone who's superficial and unkind. When the reality is you're meant to experience something greater outside of what they've created in your life. You're meant to dream and transcend. You're meant to experience the impossible. And they're going to do everything in their power to say that you owe them that impossible dream. But why do you owe them that impossible dream when you're the one who showed up countless hours? You're the one that put in all the effort. You're the one that built the discipline. You're the one that built the consistency. You're the one that put in the work, the sweat, the blood, the tears. Just because you're their child, that does not make your hard work theirs. They lived their life. They have their opportunity. Even still, no matter how old they are, they still have an opportunity to change their life around. That is theirs to figure out, not yours to support. And that does not make you selfish. It does not make you unkind. And it also means that you do not deserve to be lashed out for. Which says to set a boundary and say, if you're going to lash out at me, you don't tell them, you tell yourself, if they're going to lash out at me, I'm going to withdraw and I'm going to pull my energy back. I'm not going to call them this week. It's not the silent method. It's not the silent treatment. It's just you protecting your peace. You know, it's not you punishing them. It's you responding to their punishment. You're an adult now. You're not a kid that gets grounded and sent to your room. The unknown, knowing the unknown. Exactly. You're meant to walk into the unknown. You don't know where you're headed right now because it's not something your family has ever experienced before. You're literally building a new path and you're about to experience something incredible for yourself. Please do not fear getting lashed out from family or from parents or from the past, from people in your life or whatever it is, right? Or whomever it is. And you know what? Honor that you have changed, because without changing, you would have never made this path to begin with. Retreat and recharge. So we got Hermit twice here, right? I'm going to leave this out because it wants to be here twice. With the Chariot, the spiritual journey is taking you somewhere new. Embrace the energy of peace with Broken Arrow. Yeah, so right now it's about protecting your peace. Protecting yourself. It's been hard to do that with this situation. Whoa. A time for healing. Balsamic Moon. Yeah, you're healing the past. You're healing from that old wound. Letting it go. You don't have to be terrified of yourself being yourself anymore. Adjustments are required. You have to let go of the past in order for the new to come in. Of course it's easier said than done, Pile 3. Of course, it absolutely is easier said than done. 8th house, accept that it's complicated. And that's okay. And I'm not here chastising you for loving them. No, not at all. I think it's amazing that no matter how vicious they are, that you still love them. But then the question comes to, are you loving them or are you having a codependent, unhealthy attachment to them? Like a trauma bond, right? Because healthy love says, I love you, but I can love you from a distance. I don't have to be a part of your life to love you, to wish you well, to hope the best for you. But I also don't have to carry that either. 3rd house, take a good look around. What do you hear? What do you observe? What do you see? Your thinking mind has been affecting your abundance this entire time because you're feeling like you owe somebody here something that you never owed them in the first place. But something is convincing you that you owe them all your hard work. So you have to stop. You have to let it go. Come back to love. Right? That's the thing. Like I said, your heart is infinite. Your ability to love is infinite. It's quite profound. But love at the sake of yourself is not love. That is codependency. And it's admirable to want to take care of your family in that way. It's beautiful. But sometimes we have to ask, do they deserve it? And it's not because we're being vicious or unkind. It's because sometimes we're giving something to somebody that they don't deserve and they're only going to take it for granted. Stick to it. 2222. Persistence, patience, progress, steadfast goal, manifestation, and preparation. Choose a path and stick to it, making slow and steady progress. This card signifies the need for patience and consistent effort while working toward a significant goal or manifestation. Ensure that all aspects of your plan are organized and aligned. What path am I currently following, and how can I stay committed to and make steady progress towards my goal? Reviewing your current plans and ensure everything is in order. Take one actionable step today towards your goal and commit to making consistent progress no matter how small. So it is going to be a long journey, but you're going to be successful no matter what. 7-7, awakening. Enlightenment, breakthrough, success, epiphany, spiritual growth, transformation. You are undergoing a profound spiritual awakening that will lead you towards a path of success, epiphanies and breakthroughs in all aspects of your life. So that's the thing here. There's an awakening that's happening, but it's asking you to look at some uncomfortable aspect of yourself. Is that love for sacrifice of self? And I feel like that's something incredibly profound that's coming through here for you. Wow, this card came out in another one. Whale and Orca Elders. This really talks about our parents. It talks about our ancestors. It says, share your song, frequency of sound, and deep diving. Going deep into the waters, right? And then we also have you're not for everyone. Embrace your weirdness and face your true north. And we've got the North Node out here, right? And I feel like this is Saturn energy here with the rings on this planet here. This is a challenge for you. It's a huge challenge. It's why do I hear the Cupid shuffle all of a sudden? It's a Cupid shuffle. I do not know why it came in like, that's so random out of nowhere. There's no reason for that, but maybe someone that just came up on somebody's playlist or it's in somebody's head. So, but I feel like the thing here is that showing that even for your parents, even for your family, like sometimes you're just not for them. And I feel like that's really hard for us to accept along the journey, because it's saying like, well, but I was born to them. Like, we're supposed to be thicker than water. But I've said this plenty of times on this channel, is that sometimes blood isn't thicker than water. And it's unfortunate. And sometimes the ones closest to us are the ones that do us the dirtiest. And I wish that weren't true, but it's a pattern that you see frequently for a lot of people who are going through spiritual awakenings. You recognize they were born to narcissistic parents, or they were born with narcissistic siblings, or they were born in a situation where they were the scapegoat, or they were born in a situation where they were pushed aside and rejected, right? Like the whole Harry Potter incident. Like their kid is loved and absolutely adored, and then Harry Potter comes to live with them and he has to live in this cupboard underneath the stairs. I mean, you know, and everything is blamed on him. Right? Like that happens sometimes. It's unfortunate, but that's a trope for a reason, right? Like that's an archetype for a reason, because it's something that does happen. And it's like, you have to recognize, is like, do you still want to just keep loving them because they're your family, or do you want to go and create your own family of people who love and cherish you, like Ron and Hermione? Right? He ended up spending so much time with Ron because at least his family accepted him. They loved him. They appreciated him for who he was, not what he could give them. And they didn't try to diminish him because his light was so different than their own, right? That's not what they tried at all. I remember soul plan, the fated life versus the destiny life. Yeah, so you're remembering who you are. And you remember that you're an amazing manifester. And that's the thing, like, you don't have to keep walking this path just because it's what you were born into. You can choose the path ahead to walk in the true north. And that's the switch that's sometimes incredibly uncomfortable. Pisces energy, intimacy, intuition, and compassion. Trust your intuition moving forward. It's necessary. Ignite your passions with the fire guardian. Remember that it's okay for you to enjoy and live a passionate and free life. You don't need someone else's permission. And you sure as heck don't need this person's permission either. Wishful expectation. That's what I'm saying, like, the hope is there. Acknowledge the smoke and mirrors in your life for what they are. Yeah, so there's an expectation here that, you know, like, if I become stable, that they'll see my value and they'll see my worth and they'll treat me like I matter. But the truth is that they're not ever going to see you for the value that you have and the value and matter and amazing person that you are in this moment. They're incapable of seeing it because they're seeing everything through a very small, closed mindset. And they don't want to open up to that truth because that would mean that they would have to face the mirror within themselves. And that's a very uncomfortable experience for them, and they don't want to do that. So let's take a look at your card. I'm going to read this from the book and we'll see what it says for you today. Yeah, the golden egg. Interesting. All right, so let's see what's coming through for you here. The golden egg. This message at the center of the heart, the unstruck sound. Within the golden egg lives a precious sound. Deep within the sound resides a message. The sound cannot be heard, nor the message discerned until we retreat from the noise of modern day life. The magical essence of the golden egg needs warmth, quiet, and time to unfold. No rushing, pushing, or grasping. Find a place of deep, restful ease, perhaps through yoga nidra or meditation. If you do not yet have a meditation practice, take some time for introspection or contemplation, and when the mind begins to settle, the breath is calm, ask the question that weighs heaviest on your heart, staying open to any response you hear. Engaging with the energy of the golden egg is an advanced practice. It requires becoming intimate with our very essence and comfortable with vulnerability. When a feeling of tenderness or gratitude arises from deep within you, know that you are well on your way. Your chest may swell like you are seeing an old friend that's been away for a long, long time. Listen to the message they've been waiting to tell you. So the golden egg in the fourth chakra. The subtle essence of the golden egg is nestled deep within the heart center at the fourth chakra. The chakra is called Anahata. It is the home of our soul self. By bringing the mind into this center, we discover a portal to the most intimate and luminous space. It is said our inner guide sits there deep in meditation waiting for us. Anahata translates as the unstruck sound. So it's time for you to tap into your golden egg. The other thing that came through also while I was reading this is that they greatly disrespect you. Like, they just have no respect for you. And it's unfortunate, and you never deserved a situation like that. But also being completely honest with ourselves can help save us from future disappointment down the road if we allow ourselves to see the reality of the situation instead of the wishful expectations that we have. Okay, so I'm so sorry that you've had to go through this. You never deserved that, and you're a beautiful soul that deserves to be surrounded by people who love and cherish you, pile 3. So let's breathe in today's affirmation, and if you would like to claim this, put the little egg emoji down below and say, my rebirth is happening now. I allow myself to let go of the wishful expectations of the past and step into a grounded, centered, aligned version of myself now, moving towards people who love and cherish me the way I love and cherish myself. And if this reading resonated with your soul, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like, you're welcome to share your story in the comments. I read them all. And if you'd like to explore the tools that were used in today's reading or discover how to support the channel further, you will find all the links you need in the description box. So with that being said, I would like to take a moment to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, and my spirit guides for coming through to give us this incredible message today, pile 3. And until next time, stay human. Bye. Hello, Purple Heart Club. So this is for those of you that have spent the entire reading with me. We're just going to get a couple of cards out and see what Source would like to say to you. This is a thank you from me to you for truly just spending this whole time with me. Like, that means so much. I mean, I'm here for the time. I'm going to be here for the time regardless. But for some of you, you really find you resonate with all 3 piles. They give you different messages, or they help confirm each other, and others of you just do it for support. And it just really does mean, it means so much to me, because I know that you are hunkered down and a serious viewer, a serious follower, and deeply integrated into part of my soul tribe. So for you, Purple Heart Club, what's the message today, Source, for the Purple Heart Club? Okay, thank you. Message for the Purple Heart Club. Oh, okay. Okay, so I want to leave it like that. I want to look at the bottom of the deck here. Yeah, external gatekeeper. Something you're moving on from. There's something here that you've experienced that was really hard. And, you know, like, I mean, not surprised from the nature of this reading, right? Like, this is a very deep, integrated reading. And so, but with the moving forward energy here, it's like there's something that was at your back, like something that you'd had your focus on, right? The first step is taken with our stillness. There's something here that had your attention. It had you in a state of focus, and you finally had to turn your back to whatever had your focus. Face the sun. I'm face the light. I'm blinded by the light, but I'm still going to face it anyways, even though it's challenging, even though I don't know if I can see where I'm going. And so you're moving forward one step at a time here with the eternal gatekeeper. Acknowledge, assert, and protect what is right for you. So it's literally declaring war on the people who do not value you, right? And it's like spiritual warfare being met with spiritual armor. And that's what this feels like with the eternal gatekeeper. It's like recognizing the power that has existed within you all along. And then we have the circles. Isn't that interesting? This wanted to be first, and then we have the circles here. Clarity begins in the eye of the storm. And there's something here that's been cycling around in your life, making you feel like you don't have power. Honestly, it's almost like it's carrying over from pile 3, but I had just said it at the very end, and when I started your reading, that loudly came in again. It's like disrespect. This is something that maybe has been a very prominent situation in your life where people have just completely disregarded you and disrespected you. And it's been something that I feel like it's super frustrating for you. And it's like, why is it that I respect you, but you cannot respect me? And respect in varying grades. Like, I respect your boundaries. I respect your wants. I respect your desires. I respect you as a person. I respect what our connection is, whatever it is. But there's someone, or there's been a group of people throughout your life that have basically just tread all over you. And that's what has had your attention this whole time. And with her picking up the spear, throwing the spears down, like, you see, I don't know if you can see this. I know it's a little bit cloudy outside right now, so you might not see, but it's like you see the spears are getting thrown down here. There's one here, there's one there, there's one here. She's throwing this one here, and the light's at her back. It's like whatever had your focus is now not in your focus any longer, and you're able to walk forward knowing that you're getting guidance, but that there's something here that's fighting for you, that you don't have to focus on it any longer. So your guide, source, your guardian angel, possibly your gatekeeper, if you're acquainted with your gatekeeper, which I highly recommend for anybody who's watching to connect with your gatekeeper. Such a powerful energy to connect with, to get to know, and to become friends with over time, because they are definitely a powerful force, someone to be reckoned with. But this is where before you felt like you were stuck in the eye of the storm always when it came to this situation or this person. And this could be also not a person or a situation, but rather the pattern itself, just continuing to cycle around you, continuing to invite in people who hold no respect for you as a person, and finally asking yourself, like, what is this pattern, so that you can face it head on. I feel like what's happening is through that series of questions and through the series of healing, you're coming to terms with it, and you're finally transforming. There's like a metamorphosis that's happening here, where you're pulling off the barbed wires, where you're pulling off the thorns of the roses, and maybe you're bleeding, and maybe you're cut and bruised, and you feel targeted and ashamed. But through being able to just grasp onto what was no longer feeling aligned with you, and to rip it off of you, no matter how much it hurt, you're stepping up into a more empowered sense of self. And even though you're walking the journey seemingly alone, like, I know he's saying, like, you're not focused on it anymore, but you're never alone. Like, you have a whole bunch of spiritual team at your back here, especially with the gatekeeper. And I feel like you're beginning to see something here from a much higher perspective. So, like, where maybe that disrespect, it felt very personal, like it had something specifically to do with you. Like, maybe you're realizing, like, this is the way these people show up, even if it isn't me. Like, this is just how they show up. This is who they are. Or if it was a past pattern or something, you're realizing, like, oh, this is because of a childhood wound that I experienced. Like, you're seeing the eye of the storm. So you're seeing clearly in the center of the storm. When you think about, like, a tornado, the eye of the storm is literally in the center of the tornado, and it's clear there. Like, everything is calm in the midst of the storm. And that's where you're at right now. It's in the eye of the storm, gaining the clarity, gaining the truth, gaining the understanding that you've needed in order to move beyond whatever this troubling situation has been in your life. And that's such a powerful thing for you right now, Purple Heart Club. So this is what I see for you here. I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. But what a powerful energy that you guys are coming into, and what a powerful situation that's unfolding right now for you. Trust in the process, and remember, you are so powerful. You're an incredible person, and you deserve to be surrounded by people who respect, love, and cherish you. That is our... what is it? That's the foundation, right? That's a foundation. That's a basic necessity that we're going to build in our lives. Even if we've never experienced it before, it doesn't mean we don't deserve it. That's what we're building in our lives right now, okay? So this is what I see. I'll leave it here, and just thank you so much. I love you all. Leave your purple heart down below. I see you, I value you, and I truly do appreciate you. And until next time, stay human. Bye.